Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 20th meeting of the Phoenix City Council. I will call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilman DeCiccio?
Here.
Councilmember Garcia?
Here.
Councilwoman Guardado?
Here.
Councilman Nowakowski?
Here.
Councilwoman Pastor?
Here.
Councilwoman Stark?
Here.
Councilman Waring?
Here.
Vice Mayor Williams?
Here.
Mayor Gallego?
Here. Mario Barajas is with us to provide Spanish translation interpretation services. Mario, will you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you said, my name is Mario Barajas. I'll be serving as today's Spanish interpreter. I will now introduce myself to our Spanish community. Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Mario Barajas. Hoy estaré sirviéndoles como el intérprete del español. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mario. Will the city clerk please read the 24-hour paragraph?
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G6792 through 6798, S47187, 47238 through 47259, and resolutions 21890 through 21892.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion on boards and commissions?
I move to approve mayor and city council boards and commission nominations.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Passes unanimously. I will next turn to our city attorney to explain public participation and public comment in city council meetings. Chris Meyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, members of the council, as a reminder for everyone, members of the public may speak for up to 2 minutes to comment on agenda items that are to be discussed. Comments must be related to the agenda item and the action being considered by the council. General comments that go beyond the scope of the agenda item must be made during the citizen comment session at the end of the agenda. Speakers must present their comments in a respectful and courteous manner. Profane language and personal attacks on members of the public, council members, or staff are not allowed. A person who violates these rules can lose their opportunity to continue to speak.
Thank you. We will next move to the liquor license portion of our agenda. The city council performs an advisory role on these licenses. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
I move to approve items 2 through 13, except item 13.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. We next move to item 13, which is an application in Council District 7. So I will turn to Councilman Nowakowski for a motion, noting that Detective Smart from the Phoenix Police Department is available for any questions or comments. Councilman Nowakowski.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Mayor, looking at the police recommendation, I like to disapprove this based on the hidden ownership and the restaurant operating like a nightclub.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff, I understand there are no members of the public to speak at this moment.
That is correct, Mayor.
Any questions from the council? Roll call.
DeCiccio?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Guardado?
Yes.
Nowakowski?
Yes.
Pastor?
Yes.
Stark?
Yes.
Waring?
Did you hear me?
I can hear you now, council member.
Yes. Oh, thanks. Sorry.
I apologize. Can you clarify your vote, though?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know.
Williams?
Yes.
Gallego?
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
That concludes the liquor license portion of our agenda. City Clerk, are we ready for ordinances, resolutions, new business, planning and zoning?
Yes, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve items 14 through 54, except the following items. Item 33 and 50 to 54. Item 32 has been withdrawn. Items 30 and 54 are as corrected, and excluding this item for public comment. 30.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Thank you. We next move to item 30 as corrected, which is Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs grant funding. I will turn to our city manager to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 30 is a request to receive reimbursement from the state of Arizona for costs the city incurred during the protests in downtown Phoenix between May 28th and June 11th, 2020. And that is a time period of which the state of emergency declaration by the governor was in effect. The item would authorize staff to submit to the state for reimbursement of a portion of the city's expenses for protective services and property damage, cleanup, and repair in the city during that time period of May 28th through June 11th, which is estimated to be approximately $5.3 million. We're happy to answer any questions.
We do have a large numbers of members of the public here to address the council. So unless we have any clarifying questions, I'll begin with public comment. We will begin with Kelly Kwok.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, thank you. I speak today as a white person who benefits from white supremacy. I'm using my privilege to demand you, City Council members and Mayor, take a stand today against the violent Phoenix Police Department. Vote no on this resolution to give them even more money. Black and brown community members led nonviolent protests all last summer calling for defunding Phoenix PD. You ignored them, so us white folks are showing up here to see if you listen to us instead. I benefit from this system, just like you do, but unlike you, I'm choosing to divest from it. We will no longer accept city leaders who uphold the status quo instead of working to create a system that benefits everyone, not just white people. If you do not take a stand, we will vote you out. Thank you.
Camille Johnson will be next, followed by Harper Rowan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Hello, City Council members and Mayor. My name is Camille Johnson, and I live in District 4. I'm speaking today as a white woman who benefits from this white supremacist system just like you all do. But unlike you, I'm actively working to divest myself from it and instead do my part to work towards Black liberation. Because when Black folks are free, we are all free. You must see that your policies and continued support of Phoenix Police Department are anti-Black and dangerous. We all saw what happened at the Capitol when white supremacist men and women, along with politicians, billionaires, and police officers, organized together under the banner of white power to attack Congress. They brought a gallows structure to hang government officials, zip ties to capture hostages, in such extreme rage that they beat a police officer to death with a fire extinguisher. Their rage was stoked and fueled by violent anti-Black rhetoric from elected officials. This wasn't an isolated incident. White supremacists here in Arizona brought a guillotine to the state capitol, stormed the county recorder's office, and threatened Katie Hobbs and Adrian Fontes. These folks are being emboldened by seeing their elected officials condemn Black Lives Matter protesters, by seeing the city fail to hold accountable a Phoenix police officer who threatened to shoot Mayor Gallego if she defunded them, and by seeing Councilmember DeCiccio say things like, we see the left do these things, we do not see these things, we do not do these things, in reference to the Capitol riot. Since you said we, Sal, you clearly see yourself as one of those white extremists. For the safety of the community, you need to resign. Vote no, council. No more money to Phoenix PD.
Mayor, I need to respond to these whack jobs. These people are crazy. They're coming up here making comments. This is a towing contract. They are totally whacked. They're insane. And I don't even understand where these people come up with this stuff. It's like insane. These people don't exist in the real world, and they must live in a world that other people don't see. Thank you, Mayor.
Harper Rowan will be next, followed by Vanessa DiCarlo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I speak today as a very real white person who benefits from a very real white supremacy. I am using my very real privilege to demand you, City Council members and Mayor, take a stand against the violent Phoenix Police Department. Vote no on this resolution to reimburse their violent response to Black Lives Matter protests. Black and brown community members led nonviolent protests all last summer calling for defunding Phoenix PD. You ignored them then and continue to ignore them now. This is unacceptable, so I'm here today to see if you will finally hear this message. Do not give the Phoenix Police Department more money. They do not create community safety nor prevent crime. I benefit from the system just like you do, but unlike you, I am choosing to divest from it. We will no longer accept city leaders who uphold the anti-Black status quo instead of working to create a system that benefits everyone, not just white people. Council members, the demand is simple. I'm just echoing what directly impacted folks have been saying. Please defund the Phoenix Police Department and invest in communities.
Vanessa will be next, followed by Anicia Groves.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. When I looked at that initial line item saying that the narrative identified we are going to provide for the health and safety of all public safety personnel, and that includes labor and general materials, I feel like that's pretty accurate. The consistent anti-Black narratives that I'm seeing, and if I can see that as a white woman, really seeing that what the community really needs and the continual funding of police and to provide for their safety and health, when we are looking at a community of Black and brown people that are hurting. I mean, I cannot believe you would put $5 million when we know that 1 in 5 residents live in poverty. 21% of residents, including 1/3 of children, are living in poverty in your city. And then I look at $5 million for materials for them, helicopters, aviation fleets. I mean, it's out of control. When you look at just your own needs assessment, a 2019 resident and client community survey identified that drug use was a great challenge. And we know that it is not helpful. If you have a child with a drug addiction, you want treatment for them. That's what is helpful. That's what communities want, your community. I need you to listen to the voices of your community assessment in your community surveys and look at problem-based approaches, not when the problem has already happened. This is not supportive for Black and brown communities, and it is not something that makes sense to anybody. Additionally, identifying people that are crying out as rioters is out of control when I clearly see the discrepancy in how people that are identified as white supremacists, that the FBI identified as the very dangerous threat, and you're prosecuting and harming protesters and people that are in poverty, that are struggling. It's just incomprehensible. Please don't.
Thank you. And next we will go to Anicia, followed by Johanna Haygood.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. It is unacceptable for you to refer to nonviolent protests as riots and to publicly reinforce that false narrative. This narrative is an anti-Black weapon used to uphold white supremacy, and apparently even a council with a majority of Democrats and left-leaning independents are perfectly okay with perpetuating it. You must start telling the truth. You must unequivocally and publicly refuse to call them riots. These are nonviolent protests against police violence, protests which are only necessary because you keep letting them get away with killing. Some of you were awfully quick to go on social media and celebrate the swearing in of a Black woman vice president and quote civil rights leaders and say things about Inauguration Day like, gone are the days of divisiveness and vitriol. Do you actually believe that? This performative behavior is blatant hypocrisy unless you start taking decisive actions to dismantle white supremacy in Phoenix in all its forms, including its embodiment by the Phoenix Police Department, beginning with the bare minimum of not giving them more money. Instead of mischaracterizing protesters and giving money to the police, you should be helping protect the First Amendment rights of your constituents, and that includes the Black activists who are currently being targeted with political prosecution. Just because your job duties don't take place inside the prosecutor's office doesn't mean you can sit idly by. You have power and influence over public perception, you have the power to give or withhold huge amounts of money, and you have the power to create and implement policies that shape and limit the behavior of the police and the county attorney. You must start holding them accountable. You must first publicly demand that all the charges against these activists be dropped. Otherwise, you are 100% complicit in the ongoing violence against them. If you can't take an active and unwavering stance supporting racial justice, then we will have to fill your seats with someone else who will. Regardless, you need to do the right thing today. Vote no. Defund Phoenix PD.
Before we go to Johanna, we'll just turn to the city manager for a second to explain the background on this grant. And is this a reimbursement?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is a reimbursement. These expenses have already been paid for by the city. This is not adding more money to the police department budget. This is reimbursing the city for costs, actual costs that we incurred between the period of May 28th and June 11th, when Governor Ducey declared a state of emergency related to damage from protests. We lost city vehicles, we had city buildings damaged, we had to spend time scrubbing out graffiti, and also there was time for police officers. But that money has been spent, and so the reimbursement of any part of this from the state will reimburse the city for those expenses and will provide resources for the council to use for any other activity that they desire.
And where did the language come from titling the grant?
Thank you, Mayor. The language of the executive order specifically uses the word riot. That is what is being referred to. It relates to the executive order from the governor.
Thank you. We will go to
Mayor.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yeah, just a quick clarifying question, and I do have comments after the community speaks. Ed, does this include pay or overtime pay that we would be reimbursed for?
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, this includes the labor costs that we had from our departments. The largest one, of course, was police, but it also includes labor costs from the fire department, as well as public works.
Okay, all right. I have comments later, but you mentioned a vehicle. I had not heard about that. We lost a vehicle during the protest?
Yeah, we actually lost 2 or 3 police cars. We were reimbursed by insurance for that. And then we also had damage to a planning and development services vehicle that was on the street during the time.
Thank you.
City manager, does this include reimbursement for any graffiti and what were an example of a building that was graffitied?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear that.
Could you speak to graffiti damage that is part of this?
Thank you. Yes, Mayor. In terms of labor costs, I should just go back and clarify. Labor costs were from fire, from police, from neighborhood services, which is where the graffiti busters work, Mayor. And so we recorded about $9,000 worth of time spent by our graffiti busters to remove spray, paint, graffiti from city buildings and surrounding properties in downtown Phoenix.
Wonderful. Thank you for that important information. We will go to Johanna, followed by Marissa Leyva.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Johanna Hagan, and I'm a white cis female settler on Odom land living in District 7. PPD budget reimbursement must not go unchallenged, especially when these funds increase are in response to demonstrations held specifically against police violence. What does it say to the people of Phoenix who took to the streets to demand that their city do better, when these funds are allocated to reinforce the racist departments that patrol them instead of improving their quality of life? What does it say to the nonviolent Black liberation activists who have been targeted, hunted, surveillanced, attacked, and charged with false felonies that could land them decades in prison for exercising their First Amendment rights? That's right. Phoenix PD did that and is still doing it, and you want to reimburse them for the violence in their lives. You continually ignore the voices of the Black people impacted by your violence, but you protect property and white power. Do you really want to be on the side of history? Please do better now and vote no. And I also want to speak to the fact of using language around whack jobs, insane people, and saying that they don't exist in this real world is extremely harmful to the mental health community and towards people in general. I also want to point out how this budget, and you said with the reimbursement, and it's not adding funds to it, but you did state that majority of those funds went to the police. So I look forward to Councilmember Garcia's comments as well, and look forward to you reviewing this and understanding this is directly harmful. I yield my time.
Thank you. Marissa is next, followed by Caitlin Saunders.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Marissa Leva, and I'm understanding that it's not a reimbursement. The money's already been spent, but what is being done to address the blatant disregard for taxpayer money on behalf of Phoenix PD? Because they're spending $14 million on overtime, $500,000 on supplies for these protests, and 95% of the protests they responded to didn't even have arrests. So classifying them as riots is just blatantly irresponsible. As well as they're facing a $2.4 million lawsuit right now because of the political prosecution that they've shown during these protests. So I just want to know if this isn't a reimbursement, what are we doing to hold the cops accountable for their fiscal irresponsibility? And also to, I believe it was Sal, your anger calling people trying to address white supremacy and police violence and overspending whack jobs and saying they don't exist in the real world, all it's doing is just making everybody see you as a racist. So thank you. I yield my time.
Caitlin will be next, followed by Elizabeth Venable.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Good afternoon. My name is Caitlin Saunders. I'm a graduate student and a researcher out of ASU, so I understand the importance of narrative and framing protesters as rioters in an effort to reward more money to the Phoenix PD. I've also been a resident of Phoenix all of my adult life. I'm a real person, a white woman, a woman who lives in this city. And you cannot live in this city with your eyes open and think that passing more money that would go to Phoenix PD is even conscionable. The Phoenix City Council has been ignoring the repeated demands of Black community leaders all year, repeatedly. And this behavior is a form of white supremacist delusion, and it's extremely anti-Black. The Phoenix Police Department is well known as one of the most violent in the nation, and they've demonstrated this all summer by violently arresting protesters and community organizers. We've watched it on national TV, and we live it and witness it here locally in Phoenix. I have seen the Phoenix police punch my colleagues in the face. I have seen them swarm a young man who was handing out water to protesters. They body slam and terrorize people for exercising their rights, and it harms Black people more specifically in this city. And you're considering allocating more funding to them, to reimburse them for overtime. No, thank you. While the people of Phoenix, we're suffering from PTSD, physical harm, fear from police violence, and outrageous charges.
So we're here echoing Black leadership's demands to vote no on this harmful measure and to defund the violent police department now. I yield my time.
Elizabeth Venable will be next, followed by April McHugh.
Hello, Elizabeth Venable, Fund for Empowerment. I just want to say that I hope you will know.
Elizabeth, are you still there?
I think we have lost Elizabeth, so we will go next to April, followed by Hava Derby. There's an echo, but we can hear.
April, are you still there?
Shall we go then to Hava
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
next? And followed by Michelle Meyer.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, and there's no echo.
All right, good. Thank you for the time to speak. Again, I'm going to echo shame on you for calling us whack jobs when we're really looking out for the safety of the community. Shame on you. I see that, of course, the police want to get reimbursed for these expenditures, but you know what? We don't trust you. So for you to say you've spent millions and millions of dollars for cleanup and for labor, we want to see receipts. So far, we've got $9,000 for graffiti for a 3-week period of protests. I call foul. The community doesn't trust you. I don't trust those numbers. The people on this call don't trust those numbers. We don't trust you. That's why we're in the streets. That's why we're calling for accountability, and we're not going to stop. So while I would like to see you see some reimbursement, I don't think you're anywhere near what you have spent. And I really want to see this racist system upended. It is time. Look at today. We're moving forward. It's time to end this white supremacist police department. I yield the rest of my time.
Michelle will be next, followed by Lily Villa.
Hi there. Okay, I see I can be heard. Council members, I feel your funding priorities and I will no longer accept the brutal denial of well-being for our community. And then to hear one of you blatantly say that this is a group of whack jobs not existing in the real world. Do you not see what has been happening in your streets over the past 8 months? You are not living in the real world. And if you do not address this, your time is going to come with a heavy burden when you must reintroduce into the real world, because this domestic terrorism of police violence cannot propagate. We need to hold them accountable, and we need to expunge this parasite of white supremacy. With urgency, we must eradicate this behavior. And if you city council members do not do the right thing, we, the voter, will eradicate you. Many of you have celebrated and praised MLK for his historical work this past weekend. Now is the time to actually back it with action and support his legacy. Vote no, defund the police, and fund our communities. I yield my time.
Lily will be next, followed by Tina Luna.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Lily Villa. I'm a white woman and I am indeed sound of mind. In fact, I'm a PhD candidate in anthropology at Arizona State University. I also march with the Black Lives Matter movement. Much of my research actually focuses on the history of civil rights movements, and I can assure you that the concept of serving and protecting has always been in reference to serving and protecting white property. Policing as we know it emerged from a legacy of slave catching and efforts to protect white property, which until 1865 included enslaved human beings. Council members, your plan to increase funding for the Phoenix Police Department shows that you are carrying on the legacy of protecting and serving property instead of people. We have peacefully marched in the streets demanding that police be held accountable for murdering unarmed people, especially Black, Indigenous, and Brown people, and yet you continue to call us rioters. It was back in 1964, only 99 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was enacted, that the presses referred to the civil rights activists as race rioters. We are not rioters. We are peacefully exercising our First Amendment rights and demanding that you recognize Black, Brown, and Indigenous civil rights. Can you please stop this legacy of valuing property over human lives? Can we please recognize what wrong has been done by the Phoenix Police Department? Can you please recognize that funding the police only increases violence and serves the prison industrial complex? Can you please recognize that we must use these funds to reinvest in housing, COVID response, mental health services, domestic violence prevention, education, and many more human services? The police do not serve and protect the people. Please do not give them more money. Do not reimburse them, and so that they can kill more of the people in our community. Please reinvest in our communities and defund the Phoenix Police Department. Please vote no on agenda item 30, and please listen to what we are saying. Thank you.
Tina will be next, followed by Hannah Heyman.
Hi, thanks so much for letting me speak. So I would urge you to vote no on this. I'm an old white woman. I work at the Capitol, but and I see what goes on, and it's very disturbing. And language matters, actions matter, and Black Lives Matter. As you mislabel nonviolent protesters as rioters and continue to fund violent white supremacists, you blatantly display what really matters to you. Money talks. Let your language and actions show you value people over property. Oppose the nearly $7 million reimbursement to the Phoenix Police Department. Defund the police. The other comment I'd like to make was one of your justifications, I guess it was from the city manager. He said that there was some vehicles that were destroyed. And when Councilman Garcia asked about it, he said it was 2 or 3, but he didn't say if it was 2 or if it was 3. And then he also said kind of under that they were reimbursed by insurance. So are you wanting to get reimbursed for something that you've already been reimbursed for? And what I really, really oppose to is this precedent you're going to set of calling peaceful protesters who just want to live and be free rioters. What we saw at the Capitol on January 6th in Washington, D.C., that was rioters and insurrectionists. Black Lives Matter, protesters, and their allies are just asking for justice and freedom. Thank you so much.
Hannah will be next, followed by Sarah Ford.
Black activists and community leaders have been out in the streets demanding racial justice since the violent murders of George Floyd and Deion Johnson. And here is the anti-Black white supremacist city council trying to declare them all rioters so you can be reimbursed for the violence of Phoenix police. Many of those protesters are facing false felony charges, while you all sit here comfortable in your support of the most violent cops in the nation. I'm here as a white person to speak on this today, because when Black activists protest in the streets, you send killer cops to hunt them down. And when Black activists call into these meetings to demand you put a stop to your violence, you cut them off, drop them from the line, and then sit around and congratulate yourselves while Sal sits here and spews bigotry. Where is the accountability? You have chokehold Chief Jerry and her cronies up here every month, blatantly lying to you about their violence, and you never hold them accountable. Sometimes a couple of you will ask them questions, but it never goes further than that. It becomes ever more obvious that Jerry and her cronies won't be held accountable because they are the ones really in charge of this city. The violent Phoenix police get the biggest chunk of the city budget by far, and you still gave them almost half of our CARES Act money. And now you're trying to get reimbursed for the violence that they caused. You're all cowards for sitting up here and doing nothing while they continue to murder people. Every one of you made the anti-Black decision to send out your murderous police to hunt down Black activists. You all need to sit with that and rethink why you think you're fit to sit up here and call yourself city leaders. Any one of the Black organizers who have been protesting in the streets all year would be better for the city than all of you combined. You do not get to reimburse yourselves for your white supremacist decisions. Vote no on this item. Vote to remove the bigot Sal from office and defund the murderous Phoenix police.
Sarah is next, followed by Amy Meglio.
Hello, my name is Sarah Ford. I apologize for maybe not sounding as put together as some of our other community members, but I feel the need to reply to the so-called gentleman's comments about so-called whack jobs calling in. Sir, I'm a social worker and I work in the city of Phoenix. My clients who have active hallucinations and delusions and at times have not even graduated high school have sounded more eloquent and kind than you have today. I urge you to oppose this so-called reimbursement. A Vox 2020 article explains that when police show up in riot gear to peaceful protests, most often those police officers are the very ones to spark what you all are calling riots. And again, to speak to Councilman Sal, when I look up your name, I see that you are against government waste. So I don't understand why we need another $7 million for so-called reimbursement when the Phoenix Police Department was what created this damage, not the Black and brown leaders and community members who came out to assert their First Amendment rights. The governor issued an executive order when Black and Indigenous members wanted to assert their First Amendment rights and shine light on the police brutality that has always plagued our nation. But he never issued anything close to that sort of response for COVID-19. You say you care about health and safety? Can you please show us that in response to the COVID-19? Where is the support for Black and brown essential workers who have kept this state and country afloat for the last year? That is all. I yield my time. Thank you.
Amy will be next, followed by Tara Lohman Rojas.
All right. Hello. Thank you for your time. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, we can.
So to address Mr. DeCicio's concern that we're all whack jobs, I'd like to assure you that I am a very real white person with a very real MFA, earned on a very real fellowship scholarship focused on Holocaust and white supremacy studies. I'm not just real, I'm a source, and I was privileged enough to become a source because I benefit off of a white supremacist system and off of institutional racism. So now I choose to divest from that and then to utilize, this knowledge that Mr. DeCicio, claims is not real world knowledge to try to deconstruct that. I'd like to remind you all that the nation is watching. This is not a line by line issue. This is not a budget issue. This is an a priori vote of conscience from the city that let Q Shaman run around amok the city all summer long, threatening those of us, nonviolent BLM protesters, fighting against what is wrong, fighting against white supremacy. This is the city that let them run amok. When Q Shaman and the Patriots were perpetuating the Sharpie Gate myth here locally, where was Phoenix? When Q Shaman and the Patriots would harass and follow nonviolent BLM protesters in the streets, where was Phoenix? When nonviolent BLM protesters were arrested on 10/17, they were brought up on gang charges. The country is watching. The country has the image of Viking Jake, shirtless, horned with a spear, emblem of Arizona, trampling through the nation's capital. Where were you as this was going on? Turning a deaf ear as when we warned of this? turning a deaf ear as when we stood head to head against these people as they came at us with guns in the streets. Well, we're nonviolent with our signs. So now the city wants to capitalize off the violated constitutional rights of members of the community who warned you and who begged you that there is a problem and that it is inside your house.
Tara is next, followed by Patricia.
Hello. Today, I speak to you as a white person who is also employed by Maricopa County, who benefits from white supremacy. I'm using my privilege to demand you, City Council members and Mayor, take a stand today against the violent police department. Vote no on this resolution to reimburse the violent response to BLM nonviolent protests all last summer calling for defunding Phoenix TV. You ignore them then and continue to ignore them now. This is unacceptable. So I am here today to see if you will finally hear this message. Do not give the PTV more money. You do not create community safety nor prevent crime. I benefit from this system just like you all do, and unlike you, I am choosing to divest from it. We will no longer accept city leaders to uphold the anti-Black status quo instead of working to create a system that benefits everyone, not just white people. Council members, the demand is simple. I echo what directly impacted folks have been saying. Defund Phoenix Police Department and invest in communities. I yield my time.
Patricia is next, followed by Jessica Spencer.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful, thank you. So, hello, public servants. I am Patricia Poliuka. I was born and raised in D4. I really appreciate City Manager Ed Zuricher being there today because we have all been wondering where in the world the Black Lives Matter protests since the uprising became characterized as riots. And now we know it's Governor Ducey and his state of emergency. So that's helpful. And just also a shout out to Sal for his charming display of patriarchy, calling white women here today insane as we speak out in defense of Black lives. I am representing the Black and directly impacted leadership of Mass Liberation, and here along with so many other white allos who are simply echoing the demands from Black and brown organizers that City Council you continue to willfully disrespect and ignore. It is unacceptable that you sit here month after month listening to reports from Assistant City Manager Dahoney, Chief Williams, and Assistant Chief Lopez while they paint a false narrative that these non-violent protests against police murders are riots. Protests that, by the way, should never have had to happen if you didn't fund and support police in killing Black people with impunity. It is unacceptable that you continue to perpetuate this narrative, and we are here to demand that you stop calling them riots and denounce this type of behavior from all of your colleagues. These protesters are simply exercising their constitutional rights to demand their lives not be wiped out by City of Phoenix Police Department. As far as Ed bickering about cost, we have the report, $25,000 for damages. There was like $2,000 damage on a vehicle, $9,000 for graffiti, and then $5 million for police overtime. When you reimburse someone for money spent, they have more money to spend. We demand you end these political prosecutions and defund Phoenix Police Department. Do your job and hold them accountable.
After Jessica, we will have Ryan Orr.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, my name is Jessica Spencer. I'm a white woman and a student using my GI Bill as a Navy veteran, and I'm hardly a whack job as was insinuated earlier. I've seen a lot of social media posts lately about Dr. Martin Luther King, with many of them posted by the council members themselves. Mayor Gallego, you mentioned in your own that we need to move forward by doing what's right, together. How can this happen when the council's past actions this year in regards to police violence have done nothing but support white supremacy? How can we move forward when we have a heavily armed, militarized, and violent racist police force? I served in the military honorably, and my father and his father before him, and this isn't something we need here at home in our very own city. While we have a housing crisis and a financial crisis leaving people in the street, the council has pumped over $745 million into the Phoenix PD and are considering another $7 million more to continue this racist militarized violence. This is not the spirit of MLK, whom you have all parroted this week. I'm here today to say this is because you have repeatedly ignored, I am here to say this because you have repeatedly ignored the black and brown voices saying the same thing. Will you listen to a white veteran? We want real receipts. Vote no. I yield the rest of my time.
Ryan will be followed by Kurt Anderson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Hi, my name is Rin Orr. I am a transgender Asian person of color living in the Phoenix area. I am a student at ASU studying environmental science, and I am mentally sound. I exist and breathe just as you do, and I would like to use my voice and my privilege to demand that you city council members hold the Phoenix PD accountable and stand up for Black lives. I would like to ask exactly who are the rioters in this 7 million response to riot activity? It is obvious that you mean to reinforce the false narrative that people speaking out against police brutality, exercising their constitutional right, are the dangerous rioters. Stop spinning these lies. Phoenix PD wants you to think that we are dangerous, destructive rioters to the tune of costing $7 million. This is false. You choose to believe these lies instead of accurately observing the consistently nonviolent behavior of protesters against police brutality. Yet you keep paying lip service to BLM with weak performative nonsense. You can't have it both ways, calling us rioters while pretending to listen to us. No more money to Phoenix PD. Every time you give Phoenix PD more money, you display your anti-Blackness. The demand to defund the police has been clear long since before the summer of 2020. And it's just a matter of time before those demanding it outnumber your supporters and we fill your seats with someone else. No more money to Phoenix PD. Vote no. Defund Phoenix Police Department. I yield my time. Thank you.
Kurt is next, followed by Damian Green.
Hi, can I be heard? Can you guys hear me?
Thank you.
Okay. I speak to you today as a white person who works as a public school teacher, hardly a whack job, and benefits from white supremacy. Using my privilege to demand you, city council members, and mayor take a stand today against the violent Phoenix Police Department. Vote no on this resolution to reimburse their violent response to BLM protests. Black and brown community members led non-violent protests all last summer calling for defunding Phoenix PD. You ignored them and continue to ignore them now. This is unacceptable, so I am here today to see if you will finally hear this message. Do not give the PPD more money. They neither create community safety nor prevent crime. I benefit from this system just like you all do, but unlike you, I choose to divest from it. We will no longer accept city leaders who uphold the anti-Black status quo instead of working to create a system that benefits everyone, not just white people. Council members, the demand is simple. I echo what directly impacted folks have been saying: defund PPD and invest in communities. And I resent the fact that city council is willing to, any member of city council is ever willing to insult constituents. I yield my time.
Damian is next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Damian Green. I'm a 43-year-old white male who has lived in Arizona my whole life, but this matter affects everyone. Police often exercise unnecessary authoritarian power, which is harmful to others, especially people of color. And since decades of trying to implement better police training programs have failed, as evidenced by the case of George Floyd and so many others, we must instead look for alternatives to the established policing system to solve all the same problems that police typically deal with, such that armed police and individuals who are authorized to make arrests are never the first responders. Defund the police is the slogan that captures the sentiment. It does not mean that we should suddenly do away with police tomorrow without having alternatives in place, but it is the obvious direction we must go in order to advance progress in the areas of civil justice and racial inequality. What we need first is a roadmap. We need an independent state-funded organization that would help put forth a strategy to implement a more unified concept of defunding the police. It should be led by individuals who have a basic understanding of the concept, but should also include police and other members of the community for input. Only after a high-level plan has been established will we truly have a better understanding of what steps should come next, but that's where the funding should be directed, not to the police as it has been. Obviously, there's a lot to think about, and details can be hashed out over time, but right now we must take a moment and recognize that we can't keep doing things the same as usual. We must not continue to increase the police budget as we always have in the past, especially not in this particular situation where police are asking to be reimbursed for Black Lives Matter events where defunding the police was so much a part of the narrative. To approve Agenda Item 30 would be a huge slap in the face and a setback to civil rights activists everywhere, as it would only help establish an even greater divide between societal classes. So unless you stand for injustice, which I hope you don't, please do not allow Item 30 to pass. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. For our staff, do we have any speakers waiting online?
Mayor, we do not have any other speakers for this item.
Thank you. I will turn to Councilmember Garcia. Councilmember Garcia, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And I want to thank everyone who commented on this today and spoke today and who protested. I do want to thank city staff and recognize that they corrected the language. Thank you all for doing that. Changing the language on how we talk about protesters that occurred over the summer. They were obviously not riots, as folks said today. And I hope we can assert that and make sure that moving forward, we don't call them as such and we don't continue that language. We need to be careful about using this language. Further diminishes the intent of those, including myself and my family and my children, who took the streets to demand justice for George Floyd, Deion Johnson, and others. I do have a couple of questions for staff. I would like to know what the total amount that we are seeking out with this grant is for overtime. We heard one of the callers mention a number. How much of this grant that we're seeking is actually going to pay overtime?
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia. We'll have to get specific down to the penny, but in general, our fire department reimbursement is overtime. Our police department reimbursement is overtime, and those two together are about 5.25 million. And that's primarily the overtime in our list.
Do we have those separated between fire and police, or they're combined?
No, we have them separated. We have about 244,000 in fire and about 5,006,000 in police. And then there's a small amount in our graffiti buster group, but that's both straight time and overtime. But of course, the vast majority is fire and police.
Okay. If we were not able to get this grant, where would the money otherwise come from?
The money has already come from the budgets of those departments. So it's already been spent from the budgets of each of the probably 3, 6, 7, 8 departments that are listed here.
Okay. And then you said about 5 million is for police overtime. Last time we got a number, it was around 13 million. Do we have a number of how much we spend in police overtime throughout the months we're talking about? A total number?
Thank you, Councilmember. Yes, we do. Just a reminder, though, this is specifically to about a 2-week period that's outlined in the governor's emergency declaration. So this is only for the 2 weeks between May 28th and June 11th.
Okay, so in those 2 weeks, that's all we spent on police?
That would be what was spent in police specifically related to downtown Phoenix, yes.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. I mean, we've been asking questions as an office about the protest this whole time. I do want to reiterate that the city, the police department overreacted in the manner in which we conducted itself and handled the demonstrations. This overreaction led to massive unnecessary arrests and, I believe, wasteful government spending. I will be voting no on this, and I would hope that if there's opportunities for grants of this sort, that we can look to better spend them, whether it's to figure out ways in which mental health responders and others can respond to calls so that we can start preventing some of the issues that we're seeing. I do hope that we could still, we've had a conversation in public safety about the protests and how the decisions were made to spend this amount of money without coming to council. And now to hear that not only we didn't have knowledge of how and why it was been spent in this way, but now that we're having to ask for reimbursements, seems unresponsible, and it seems like we can do it in a better way. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the questions that were asked or brought up today are important, and I'm glad we're diving into these situations and not letting them pass by, and acknowledging when our mistakes are being made. I said it in Public Justice Subcommittee, and I want to reiterate today that I hope that the county attorney is listening to us and that they look to drop the charges on those, specifically those being charged with gang charges, and all those who were unjustly arrested during these protests. Last thing, just again, thanking folks for commenting today, and I will be a no on this item.
Mayor?
Councilmember DeCiccio.
Thank you, Mayor. So, not all the protesters that were there were peaceful, and not all of them were violent. But there were those violent individuals that were there, obviously, because we had destruction of property. I put up a post just now that people can look at. They go to my Facebook page, Sal DeCiccio, Councilman Sal DeCiccio. They can actually see people destroying police vehicles. I looked it up, and it didn't take me more than a few seconds to find that. So there were individuals that were out there to do nothing but destroy. If the county attorney, for any reason, drops charges against these violent individuals that were there, that were arrested, well, then they're going to have individuals like myself coming down on them, because I think this public would not put up with that. The city of Phoenix is at a crossroads right now. This is the first step. This vote today is a first step on defunding the Phoenix Police Department. It is. Whether we like it or not, this is it. And we're at a crossroads. We're either going to support these crazies that went out there and destroyed the city of Phoenix, public property. They destroyed our police vehicles, and they attacked our police officers, and they're doing it constantly. You heard it today, calling them names, calling them everything in the book. Murderers, they called them rapists. They've called them everything in the book. So we're going to have to make a choice today on this vote. We're either going to support these whack jobs that came in here, these racist whack jobs, or we're going to support our men and women in blue that have done nothing but protect us and do everything right. So that is our vote today. It's about nothing else. It is about that. We're either going to support our police officers that have done everything right. They have great families, and they do everything because they want to be able to be out there protecting us. So that is what this vote is about today. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Yes, we do, Mayor. I move to approve the grant application and receiving the money. I think it's very important we reimburse the taxpayers for what has been spent out of their budget.
And I will second.
Second.
We have a
Mayor.
motion. Second.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Pastor, please.
Yes. I'm not sure if this is where we do it or this, but I have been asking several times that our reports demonstrate or break down how money is being spent and where the money's going to go. So I know we're at this vote, but it's very difficult to follow the conversation of really having concrete numbers as to overtime, how many vehicles got damaged, what the cost with that was. I think it's very important for the public and for us when we're voting that we have a breakdown of where this money's going to go, and just in the future, any future items in the packet. It's not just this item, but a lot of other items. Secondly, the concern I have is that we got reimbursed by the insurance. And so are we charging, or are we asking for that additional dollars when we've already gotten reimbursed by the insurance?
Mayor, Councilman Pastor, thank you for asking that, as I didn't speak as specifically as I should have. We are not both getting reimbursed by insurance and by this grant. If we got reimbursed by insurance, that's not included in this grant. So that's why, it's not a grant, actually, it's reimbursement. That's why the reimbursement does not have a request for police vehicle repairs. And the police let me know that there were approximately 27 police vehicles that were damaged in that time period, and with anything from a slashed tire to a broken window. Those are not in here because they were reimbursed by insurance. What is in here would be things that we did not get insurance reimbursement for.
So like broken windows, wouldn't that be reimbursed by insurance?
I think in this case, we did not get reimbursed by insurance for those.
Did we apply?
I don't know specifically, but we will not get both insurance and state reimbursement. It would be one or the other.
No, I know, but I'm asking, I guess my question is, did we ask to be reimbursed by our insurance company for the damaged windows or whatever damaged windows there were? Because are there damaged windows to City Hall, or I know that there were damaged windows to businesses?
There were damage, the businesses, businesses are not part of this. This is city property. So we had damaged windows at the Burton Bar Library. We had at the Orpheum Theater, at the Phoenix Municipal Court. We had a vehicle damaged from the Planning and Development Services Department. The Public Works Department also had to repair Phoenix City Hall and the Calvin Good Building. And we had damage at the Phoenix Transit Building on North First Avenue. And then there's also the labor costs for our graffiti buster staff, as I mentioned earlier, who removed graffiti downtown, including on city buildings like the Calvin Good Building where there was graffiti.
Okay, can somebody answer my question about the reimbursement of windows? Did we? And my question is very specific in the sense that, did we apply or did we put an insurance claim for our windows?
I have the Chief Financial Officer checking on that right now.
Okay, I'll wait. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm not sure how quickly she's going to be able to get me that answer, so.
Councilwoman Pastor, would you be comfortable if we move forward, or would you like to wait?
Well, I don't want to vote on an item if I guess what I'm trying to get to is, I want to understand if we did not go for reimbursement to our insurance company, my question is why? And then secondly, if we did, is it included in this item?
I can assure you that if we applied for something from insurance, we will not include it in our submittal to the state. So that's my assurance to you. As for the specifics on some of the glass and plywood, I don't have that right now to know why that may not have been applied for insurance reimbursement.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed, Mayor. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Any comments from council members? Roll call.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Guardado,
Yes.
Nowakowski,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark, Stark,
I said yes. I have it
I can hear
unmuted.
you.
I'm sorry.
I can hear you now, Councilwoman. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Waring,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-1.
Thank you. We next go to item 33, Phoenix Sky Harbor Concessionaire Relief Consideration. We do have a large number of individuals to address the council on this item. So I will begin with public comment. We will start with Tracy Gunderson, followed by Maria Ocampo.
Me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. This is Tracy Gunderson from HMS Host again. I've been a server and a bartender for them for well over 9 years now. As you may know, I filed a complaint with the City Equal Opportunity Department for alleged gender and age discrimination. I've also filed a complaint with the EEOC. I'm here today to tell you about what happened to me when I worked at Host and to ask for your support in conducting a thorough investigation into this company before you consider extending HMS Host lease. For the past 3 years, my supervisor and his assistants have constantly discriminated against me to create a hostile work environment. Over the years, I've been subjected to personal insults, badgering, bogus write-ups, and a harsh disciplinary double standard at work. I eventually came to learn through other employees that my supervisor's unfair treatment wasn't simply because he disliked me. It was because I and other older women, servers and bartenders, had in his view aged out of the business and ought to be pushed out of the workplace. Indeed, he did not, in my observation, treat either older men or younger women in the unit this way. I contacted the EEOC last year to initiate a complaint against the company. This was before any of the pandemic started. Our case is currently being investigated. And as mentioned, we have now filed a complaint with the City Equal Opportunity Department. As of today, the City Equal Opportunity Department has deferred our case to the EEOC. And the EEOC has yet to assign an investigator to this case. I hope you will conduct a thorough investigation into the treatment that I and my coworkers have experienced, especially before you again award HMS Host with a lease extension worth millions and millions of dollars. Thank you so much for your time today. And please, 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 please help us by supporting us. We beg you.
Maria will be next, followed by Vivian Lavely.
Mayor, Maria is not on the line.
Oh, apologies. Do we have Vivian? Let me see.
Mayor, we will check 1 moment. Yes, we do.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you so much and good afternoon to everyone. I just, again, want to thank the time that you all have put into listening to everything we have to say in regards to this lease extension for the various businesses at Sky Harbor Airport. I am here as one speaking out for many, and I understand what is at stake here. And at this point, it is a shame that the host corporation has continued to act in bad faith while continuing to hide behind the small businesses. We are all very terrified at the lack of security at this point as both employees and I am certain as a business owner. At this point, all I am asking is for additional time so that these allegations can be investigated thoroughly and resolved before we continue to reward hosts with benefits from the Phoenix community. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all continue to have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. Janelle Weaver will be next, followed by Teresa Dominguez.
And hello, Honorable Council. My name is Janelle Weaver, and I was a server at HMS for over 25 years. I'm here today to tell you about what happened to me when I worked at Host, and my hope is that you will please help us, City of Phoenix, do a thorough investigation into this company before you grant them another lease extension. When I worked there, our supervisor routinely mocked me for being too slow and would ask me if I had taken my old lady pills today. On multiple occasions, I was silenced after approaching the supervisor and a group of male employees with the line, "Shh, men are talking," and would be told, "Stop nagging." These comments coincided with a constant double standard that completely favored men and younger women employees when it came to table seating hours and discipline. After complaining to HR about the supervisor's seniority system violations, my supervisor escalated the mistreatment, causing me to break down and take a leave of absence. HR denied any wrongdoing on the part of either the supervisor or his top assistant, but transferred both of them to Blanco Taco shortly after my return. I want the City of Phoenix to investigate and monitor hosts and to just ask the other workers about their experiences at work. Please support us in City of Phoenix. Do the right thing moving forward and thoroughly investigate HMS. Thank you so much, Council. I yield my time.
Thank you. We'll next go to Teresa, followed by Scott Welding.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego and members of the City Council. My name is Teresa Dominguez, and our business address is 4346 East Elwood Street in Phoenix. The name of my company is Maja 3 Art, and we are an ACDBE local business partner with Paradis Lagardère Phoenix. First, I would like to thank Director Charlene Reynolds and her team at Phoenix Sky Harbor for continuing to do a fantastic job in supporting all the concessionaires. My husband Frank and I would also like to thank you, Mayor Gallego, and members of the City Council for your continued leadership and support throughout this process. We are very appreciative and thankful for your help. I'm here today to support the lease extensions for concessionaires at our airport. We could not have achieved our success if it weren't for our partnership with Paradis Lagardère. Not only are we true business partners, but moreover, we have also become a part of the Paradis family. It is through our partnership that our business has been able to grow our footprint within the Phoenix community, of which we are very proud to be part of. For Maja 3 Art Inc., being part of the family means being committed to all our team members, our associates or managers, ensuring that they are all successful in their positions. At Paradis Lagardère Phoenix, we ensure success of our family members through our core values. And these core values have been in place for as long as I have been a partner. Our core values exemplify and focus an equal opportunity for every person at every level, ensuring nobody is discriminated against. Equal opportunity means in our core values that we treat each other with trust, respect, and integrity. And that begins from the top with the business partners to our associates. We are also committed to ensuring each associate is provided with equal pay. So on behalf of all the concessionaires, I would like to thank you in advance for considering our these lease extensions. I appreciate your time.
Mayor, I have a question for her.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you for that, and thank you for what you just said earlier. But earlier this week, I think it must have been on Martin Luther King Day, we sent you guys a letter about different stipulations that we wanted to add to the leases when it comes to worker discrimination. And I wanted to know if you received the letter and what did you think about supporting that?
Councilwoman Guardado, thank you for the question. Yes, we did receive the letter. And at this moment, I believe we are still working and crafting our response, but let me assure you that we do believe in non-discrimination policies, and we have it in force at our company. For as long as I've been with the company as a partner for 24 years, we have definitely always provided that support to our associates when it comes to any kind of discriminatory issues. And I would have to say in the 24 years, we've hardly had any, probably zero, I think I would have to say that, especially since in our HR issues that I'm involved in. And equal pay does matter to us, Councilwoman.
I appreciate that. So are you saying then that you guys might need more time to come up with a response, maybe work with our staff to figure this out a little bit more? Are you guys open to that?
Actually, I believe we don't need any more time because we are, as part of our contract, we have included that as part of our contract and in terms of our non-discriminatory policy issues.
So then are you saying that you agree to the 5 points that we have sent over to you guys?
Yes. Yes, we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, hopefully that helps.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll next go to Scott Welding, followed by Liren Jacobs.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego and members of the City Council. My name is Scott Welding. I'm a Phoenix resident, a proud member of the Hispanic community, and I work for SSP America, one of the two prime food and beverage concession companies operating at the Sky Harbor Airport. First, I would like to respond to the letter that several of the council members addressed to our ACDBE partners in regard to discrimination. While SSP America is not an ACDBE company, due to the serious and important nature of that letter, I wanted to go on record to state that we are in compliance and will remain in compliance with their request to remain non-discriminate as an employer, and we will work with the City of Phoenix as they see fit on the 5 topics raised in that letter. Equal pay and treatment is paramount to SSP in how we act as an ethical business. I also wanted to speak today in favor of a 3-year term extension for companies operating in Terminals 3 and 4. I'm very thankful that this item has been brought forward for Council's consideration, as there is likely no bigger item for you to approve that will ensure that Sky Harbor remains one of the nation's top airports for customer service, cleanliness, ease of use, and unique local offerings. The floor dropped out of the travel industry in March due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Over 10 months later, the travel industry is almost in an identical spot as it was during the darkest days in March and April. Today, more than half of the pre-COVID services at Sky Harbor remain shuttered. Industry experts predict it will take between 3 to 5 years before passenger traffic resumes to 2019 levels. Because of this, a 3-year term extension is vital to businesses operating at the airport. The contracts we have with the City of Phoenix are 10 years in duration. The reason these contracts are so long is due to the massive investment made into developing what is now considered and awarded as one of the best food and beverage programs in the nation. Without that amount of term, we quite simply would not have been able to build this award-winning program. Granting us 3 years of additional term would allow us to continue to invest in our people and restaurants and more willingness to take risks, knowing that we have the necessary support coming on the back end of our contracts. Other large North American airports have already begun granting term extensions. Some examples are Seattle, Minneapolis, Atlanta, LaGuardia, and Toronto, all granting 3-year term extensions, and LAX granting 2. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Mayor. Oh, sorry.
I think I heard Councilwoman Pastor first.
Yes,
right?
I just wanted to talk to, I think it's Mr. Welding.
Yes.
So what I heard is that you are in agreement with the letter that was sent, and that's items 1 through 5?
That is correct.
Okay. And so are the ACDBEs that are under your umbrella? Your joint ventures?
Yes, I
and-
believe.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Councilwoman. Yep, I believe that many of those subtenant partners, ACDBE partners, will be speaking today. And
Okay.
so I'd like for them to respond on their own behalf.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just want to thank Scott and SSP for always being very responsive to all of the questions and all of the concerns that we have brought forward. I believe that you guys are the only prime that have shown up at every single meeting, answered all of our questions, have reached out to us to try to figure out a way how can we meet the needs of everyone, and that we can continue to make sure that this airport continues to thrive. So I just want to thank you guys for doing that. I wish that, we had that HMS host would have done the same thing, but at this moment, just want to thank you guys for what you guys are doing. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We will go to Mrs. Jacobs next, and then for Mario, we're going to go to 2 Spanish speakers after that. So the first being Manuel Butanda. So Mrs. Jacobs, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gallego and members of council. My name is Leerin Jacobs. I'm the Regional HR Business Partner from SSP America. I'm here in support of a 3-year extension to our existing leases at Terminal 3 and 4 at Sky Harbor. Thank you for your thoughtful attention to this item. This pandemic is like nothing we've seen before, and we have to work together in solidarity to fight our way through to the end. We received a letter from Councilman Garcia and Councilwoman Pastor and Guardado asking us to make a commitment to non-discrimination policies at Sky Harbor. SSP maintains a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination in the workplace, and this is clearly stated in our team member handbook, orientation, training, and ongoing focus on our company passion principles and values. The SSP Phoenix team is comprised of 63% of employees of minority groups and 52% of females. Our managers undergo reoccurring training to keep diversity and inclusion top of mind and equip them with the knowledge and tools they need to maintain a discrimination-free workplace. Now, on a personal note, as a female and a member of the LGBTQ community, I have experienced firsthand the pain and brutality of discrimination. As an adoptive mother of an autistic child of Middle Eastern descent, I've experienced the harsh cruelties of discrimination. I carry this with me every day. It's an unfortunate armor that I have to put on and wear walking into work, but it does make me committed to non-discrimination on a very personal and professional priority level for me, consistently and across the board. There's no space for discrimination at our restaurants, in our airport, or in our community. I'm committed to holding that rope every day, and I know that our amazing DBE partners are too. The very spirit of the ACDBE program is to level the playing field for minority-owned and operated business so they can succeed, and it's working. Thank you for your time, and I will remain on the call for the duration of this agenda item to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Pastor.
Sorry, I just want to get some clarity under SSP, and I believe that's HR. Am I correct or no? If I heard that correctly.
Yes.
Okay. My question to SSP HR is, as I'm looking at the graph of the contractor or how it works, when you say you're making a commitment, when SSP America is making a commitment to one through 5, I want to make sure that the joint ventures like Los Taquitos, Humble Pie, some subtenants under there, Panda Express, Pete's Coffee, and the licensees, Chevron's Wine Bar, Deluxe Bar, Burger, and some other ones, that they're all agreeing to the 1 through 5 to the letter that we have the discrimination, the non-discrimination language, and the equal pay.
So, Councilwoman Pastor, I'm sorry, I don't think you were hearing me. I'd like to defer back to what Scott Welding had mentioned. We do have those partners on the phone today to speak directly for their operation. I can speak to the SSP operation and how it is upheld at the airport and those operations that we operate.
Okay, but I understand that. I guess what I'm saying is the contract is with SSP. So I guess legal, I would need Chris. I'm assuming when SSP says we agree to this, it includes the joint ventures, the subtenants, and the licensees.
Mayor, to Councilwoman Pastor, that is correct. Language within the contract does flow down to all of their subtenants and
Okay.
sublessees.
And the joint ventures.
And the joint ventures, correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a follow-up to that.
Councilwoman Guardado.
So I guess, Charlene, my question then is, so then what happens, if the joint ventures, if the other small businesses don't comply?
Mayor, to Councilwoman Guardado, I would need a little clarification on your request, because typically within all contracts, we have language that they must stay compliant with. If they are not compliant with that language, then it could be a material breach of the contract or a simple breach that we would allow them to cure. The letter that was issued, forwarded by me to the Acdb's on Monday, was requesting that they add new language to their existing contract. So I just need to have a clarification from you. Are you mentioning their existing contract language or the proposed new language?
The proposed new language, because right now, from what I understood that you answered to Councilwoman Pastor, was that if SSP, which they have said that they agree with the 5 points and that they will put this as part of the lease, what I'm understanding is that if they agree to it, then they have to also make sure that the CBDs and the small businesses are also in compliance with this.
Councilwoman Guardado, that is correct. Our current contracts are with the joint venture partners and/or the primes, and if they agree to that language for their contracts, then once they agree, then that would automatically, we would require that it flows down to their subleases and subtenants.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next two speakers will be addressing the council in Spanish with interpretation. We will first go to Manuel Butanda, followed by Carmen Quintana.
Vamos a atender ahora a los dos de habla hispana. Primero vamos a hablar con Manuel Butanda, seguido por Carmen Quintana. Señor Butanda?
Sí, aquí estoy. ¿Me escucha?
Sí.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Sí, señor.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Mi nombre es Manuel Butanda. Yo tengo trabajando 20 años con Kind Hospitality.
My name is Manuel Butanda. I've been working for Kind Hospitality for 20 years.
Soy el encargado de la comisaría que está en el edificio de HMS Building.
I'm in charge of the Commissionaire building, the HMS building, in the production.
Yo empecé como panadero.
I started as a baker.
Y ahora soy el encargado de la commissary.
Now I'm in charge of the commissary.
Trabajo con HMS Building. Nos ayudan mucho con su trabajo y les agradezco toda su ayuda.
I work with the HMS building. I appreciate working with them and all their help.
y a ustedes les doy gracias por reducir la renta a mi jefe.
And I appreciate you, the fact that you reduced the rent to my boss,
Solo que todos podamos tener nuestro trabajo para mantener a nuestras familias.
so that we can all have our jobs and support our families.
Y muy agradecido con el tener el trabajo aquí en el aeropuerto, que yo me siento muy contento trabajando aquí.
And I'm very grateful having a job here. I'm very happy working here at the airport.
Y unas palabras en inglés.
And I want to say some words in English.
I want to say thank you very much for the council, for your help. And I speak English, not good, not very good, but I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for your help, and I want to keep working here for the next 3 years with the relief for the company that we get. Do you hear me?
Yes, gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will also address the council in Spanish, Carmen Quintana, and she will be followed by Alex Maystaf.
La que sigue, la que va a estar hablando en español, Carmen Quintana. ¿Se encuentra, señora?
Sí. Hola, mi nombre es Carmen Quintana
Hello, my name is Carmen Quintana,
y yo he trabajado para HMS Host por 33 años.
and I've been working for HMS for 33 years.
Y hoy estoy aquí para oponerme a la extensión del contrato con la ciudad de Phoenix y HMS Host.
And I'm here to oppose the extension of the contract with the City of Phoenix and the HMS host.
También estoy aquí para apoyar a las valientes mujeres
And I'm also here to support the brave women
que se han presentado y puesto quejas ante la ciudad y la EEOC.
that have complained against the city and against the EEOC.
Y para pedirles que investiguen sus acusaciones de discriminación en HMS
to
Host
ask-
antes
And to ask to look into the acusaciones
de discriminación en HMS Host antes de dar una extensión de su contrato.
and ask to look into the accusations with HMS host before you extend the contract of the accusations that have been brought upon them.
HMS Host ha recibido millones en rentas de la ciudad de Phoenix,
HMS host has received millions from the city of Phoenix.
pero para mí este año ha sido muy difícil. Gracias.
But for me, this year has been very hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Alex Mustaf. And Alex will be followed by Debbie Rutkowski.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Council, for listening to us and taking time to hear us all out. My name is Alex Maestas. I've been working at HMS Host for 2 years as a server and also as a barista. I'm here today to oppose giving HMS Host a lease extension. This has not been an easy year for me. When I did get furloughed in March from HMS Host, I had to figure out what I needed to do with my health insurance because I did not have it anymore. Myself, I have been living with an immune pre-existing condition for over 7 years and dealing with COVID, and insurance was super important because I needed to live. I'm already one blow behind, like other people dealing with this, with COVID. So I looked at other jobs And finally, I did work the Biden campaign with the union. And then also I did finally got recalled in March, but I did have the fear of going back to work. And I know the airport is super popular and having many people in high foot traffic as it is increasing and getting better, even though our cases are very high in the state and also the nation and world. I go every single day scared that I need an income, but also I'm scared that I need to go into work because I might catch something, and it's very fearful, and it's always on my mind. So I would like better insurance that is affordable for myself and that. And also, I would also like to say that due to the discrimination allegations that have come to light that my coworkers and former coworkers spoke about here today and at the last meetings, please don't extend host's lease with the city until you've done a full investigation into discrimination allegations. Thank you. Now you have my time.
Thank you. Debbie will be next, followed by Cheryl Grant.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. My name is Debbie Rukowski. I worked at HMS Host for 13 years as a bartender. I'm here to ask you to oppose giving HMS Host a lease extension and ask you to investigate this company. So hopefully no one else will have to go through what I went through. Shortly after the current supervisor and his assistant transferred over to Blanco Taco, they began urging me to scale back work shifts and reduce my role at the restaurant. So I initially resisted, but eventually gave in to their demands. After it was made clear to me by another assistant manager that the supervisor had placed a target on my back. When I filed a grievance with the company about not receiving shifts in accordance with my seniority, my supervisor vowed to me directly that he would get me fired for having complained to HR, telling me that older women bartenders like myself cause too much drama. I was later told that the same supervisor said about me words to the effect of, "Who wants to come over to the bar and see an old hag who's wheezing and coughing? We have to get her off the schedule." More generally, I noticed how much more poorly management treated other older women bartenders, and I compared it to the men in my workplace. The consistent mistreatment and pressure I experienced at work had left me very stressed and corresponded with a worsening of my asthma, which has landed me in the hospital monthly since that time. The environment I experienced ultimately drove me to leave 2 years ago. Thank you so much for listening. I've spoken here before, but want to say again that I've yet to be contacted by an investigator with the city. I'm ready and willing to talk to the EOD, and I urge you to encourage the EOD to conduct a full investigation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cheryl will be next, followed by Highwit Kidane.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Grant, and I worked at HMS Host for 19 years as a bartender and a server. I'm here to ask you to oppose giving HMS Host the lease extension and to ask you to investigate this company. As an older woman worker at HMS Host, I feel I was singled out for criticism by management. After I commented on how the younger servers were idling while others worked, for example, my manager responded to me by telling me, "Too bad you're not younger." I also saw other women were treated in ways that I feel were unfair, as my coworkers here have explained. During my last year of work at HMS Host, I began experiencing anxiety attacks on my way to work. On one occasion, I remember experiencing an anxiety attack at work, forcing me to leave the floor to calm down by an empty gate for about 15 minutes. I believe the anxiety attacks were directly related to the toxic work environment. Thank you for listening. I've spoken here before, but have yet to be contacted by an investigator with the city. I am ready and willing to talk to the EOD. I urge you to encourage the EOD to conduct a full investigation before considering granting HMS Host this lease extension. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Highwit will be next, followed by Gonzalo.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hiwat Kidane. I work in HMS Hosti 14 years. Thank you. First, keep my job. Second, low expensive the insurance. I need to help everybody. Very expensive. Thank you so much. For everybody, listen the city council. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Gonzalo will be next, followed by Stephen Douglas.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy New Year, Mayor Gallego and members of City Council. I am Gonzalo de la Molena, small business owner of Cerveza's Taco Shop at Sky Harbor. I want to thank each of you and the aviation staff for your support to date and for receiving our Acdb testimonial video and our letter dated November 1st. I want to emphasize that we are not out of the woods yet, and we are very much still in survival mode. And a quick refresher on why there is an Acdb debt crisis. In order for us to finance restaurant, retail build-outs, banks require collateral. However, the airport leases do not allow operators to collateralize the real estate or the equipment because an airport is considered public domain. This has two major implications to the borrower. One, the cost of our loans are much higher interest rate. And two, we have to provide personal guarantees. That means we are personally liable for the loans. Phoenix Acdbs have over $15 million invested in Sky Harbor in the last 7 years. A few key points on why specifically a 3-year extension. In order for a bank to refinance a loan, it needs term, usually 10, 7, 5, or a minimum of 3 years to refi. Second, the rating agencies project COVID will have a 4 to 5 year negative impact on travel and concessions operators. Our own Sky Harbor Airport has reduced its budget significantly for the next several years. Why now and not later? In a time of so much uncertainty, having a minimum of 3-year extension allows Acdbs to take action now to refinance, hopefully at a lower rate, and extend out our payments. Finally, I want to touch on the non-discrimination and equal pay topic. The Acdb program is built on the premise of diversity, equity, inclusion. All Acdbs are either women or minority owned. This is in our DNA. It's the reason for our existence. I can speak to my team and staff, which is 90% minority. 100% of my managers are women, and I absolutely agree to the comments. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Pastor.
may I ask a question?
Please.
As I'm looking at this, my understanding is that the joint ventures have to also agree along with the big prime. And so I need some clarity, because then adding up all the joint ventures, I hope they're all on the phone. Then we're gonna have to get commitment from those joint ventures, but I need clarity from Charlene.
Mayor, to Councilwoman Pastor, a joint venture is a legal entity. In the case of the airport, you may have a prime such as SSP, Parodies, Stellar, and others enter into a new legal entity, a joint venture entity with Acdbe partners. For example, SSP could own 60% of that joint venture partner. You can have 1, 2, or 3 or more Acdbes that own a percentage of that legal entity. The city has a relationship, a contractual relationship with that joint venture entity, and so those partners would have to agree. All the partners would have to agree, because the joint venture is the entity in which the city contracts with.
So I did hear correctly, all would have to agree.
The joint venture in which we have a contract with would have to agree to that new language.
Okay, because if I'm correct, and you can tell me I'm not, that the subtenants and the licensees, those are subtenants are the sub-licensees, am I correct?
Yes, we have, in the case of the operations at the airport, you could have direct leases with the prime could have a direct lease with the subtenant and or a sub-lessee. In those cases, then basically they can flow down that information or those requirements to those subtenants and sublessees. But relative to the joint venture, that is a legal formation in which the partners collectively have a share and a voice in that joint venture operation. So collectively, they would have to agree to those requirements. You could not just have the prime partner who owns a higher percentage speak for the entire joint venture.
Okay, so my next question is, like Cerveza and Shake Shack that is under Gonzalo de la Melena, if I ask him the question, if he agrees to the 5 points that we have written, that we sent a letter to, then he's part of the half of host.
Depending on the joint venture structure, so looking at Terminal 3, the joint venture is host Santan Brewery, which has not only Gonzalo, but Nava in that joint venture and under Santan. And then you have Shake Shack, which is another concept, which is a part of that joint venture as well.
Okay, because the paperwork that I have, I'm reading Host International Terminal 3 Food and Beverage Program. I have Shake Shack, Gonzalo de la Melena, and then I have Santan Brewery, Nava, and I am not going to say the last name, separate.
Under Mayor to Councilwoman Pastor, under Santan again, they have a split ownership. I believe, and I will be corrected, it's something like a 15 each. Nava and Gonzalo own approximately somewhere between 15 and 20% each of that joint venture, with Host International owning a majority of that joint venture.
Okay, so then I would need Shake Shack, Santan Brewery, that's Terminal 3. I guess I would ask Mr. De La Melena if he would agree to the language or the points that we sent the letter in for all his joint ventures.
Councilwoman Pastor, Gonzalo de la Melena, thank you for the question. I'm going to answer as it relates to Terminal 4 Cervezas, which I control 100%. I certainly agree to that, and that was my closing statement as I gave my 2-minute comments. So 100% there. Folks from HMS Hosts are on the line. They'll be addressing the broader discussion, and I'll let them take the lead on that piece. But I am in support of it, yes.
Okay, because what I have right here, and I don't know if I have wrong documentation, it was given to me by the airport, but what I have right here is Terminal 3 Food and Beverage Program, Joint Ventures, Shake Shack, Gonzalo, you are 100% of the Acdb, and then I have Santan Brewery of Nava owning 100% of the Acdb in Terminal 3.
Yeah, it's a little probably misleading the way it's laid out. We don't own 100% of it. As Charlene mentioned, we own each roughly about 15% of the joint venture, and we are assigned to those units in order to deliver on our areas of responsibility. So it's just said another way.
Okay.
But as it relates to the subtenancy for Cervezas, the answer is yes, and you will hear from some of the HMS Host folks later on in the program.
Okay, so I'm a little confused, Charlene. And I'm confused because the paperwork that has been given to me, this is what is being said on the paperwork. And it says joint ventures. And what I heard earlier is that we needed to hear from the joint ventures that we're also in partnership with Host in order to, for them to agree on the language. So you guys figure it out, and I'll ask questions. I'll let the comments keep going, but I hope somebody can give me an answer.
Mayor, this is Councilman Nowakowski. I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilman.
So I heard 5 points. I'm looking in my package. I don't see any letter of 5 points, what people are talking about. So I'm not sure what that means. And also, Charlene, um, does the current contract cover discrimination and equal pay? Or I thought it does. Does it or doesn't it?
Mayor to Councilman Nowakowski, you are correct. The current contracts that we have in Terminal 4 has a anti-discrimination provision in it, and then the city enacted a equal pay provision that was incorporated into the Terminal 3 contract. So that contract does have language relative to both anti-discrimination and the most current equal pay provision as approved by City Council.
And then this letter, this 5-point letter, I can't find in the package. So city manager, do we happen to have that in the package, or what the heck are they talking about?
Mayor, Councilman Nowakowski, I believe the letter they're referring to is a letter signed by council members from District 4, 5, and 8. Matt just sent a copy of that letter around, but it was a letter from those 3 individual council members to, I think, the airport DBE concessionaires, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
And it isn't most of the time these things added into our package, so then we actually know what's being talked about, because I don't see that in our package that we're voting on, any 5 points, right?
Right, Councilman. It is not in the packet because it was a letter sent by the individual council members, so it represents the position of those 3 council members, not the position of the entire council. I think if the entire council wanted to consider it, it would need to be included in a motion or in something official. Otherwise, I believe what we're speaking of is a request from 3 council members for something to be considered. It would have to have the full effect of the entire council. The entire council would need to approve that.
Alrighty. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. We will resume with hearing testimony with Stephen Douglas, followed by Daryl Benton.
Mayor and City Council. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Stephen Douglas. I'm a Vice President of Development for HMS Host, and I work on our Phoenix operations. I'm here today in support of item 33, along with my colleagues, Daryl Benton, Executive Vice President of Development, Susan Subert, Vice President of Human Resources, Brian Donahue, Senior Director of Human Resources, and John Richmond, Senior Director of Operations. We'd like to thank the Aviation Department, the Transportation Infrastructure and Innovation Subcommittee, and the full City Council for all support you have provided to date. This pandemic has impacted all of us more than any of us could have ever imagined, and forecasts are indicating it will continue for 3 to 4 years before a full recovery. We would not have survived this without your assistance and help, and we thank you for that. With that, I ask for your support on this agenda item 33, and I will yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. We will
Mayor,
go next.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I have a question for him.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you. So I have a question for you. I know that you guys, and thank you so much for getting on. I know that we've been waiting for a long time to have HMS hosts come into these meetings. My question is, you guys received our letter that we sent out the other day, and I just wanted to get your take on the 5 points that we put in the letter, and wanted to know if you guys were willing to commit to this language.
Mayor to Councilwoman Guardado, would it be okay if I had my Vice President of Human Resources answer that question for you, Susan Subert?
Sure, that'd be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm happy to go next to Susan, if that seems most appropriate, or we can go to Daryl. I guess Daryl, we can open since I called on Daryl, what's your preference?
We can let Daryl go next. That's fine.
All right. Then next will be Daryl Benton and then followed by Susan Siebert.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. Again, I'm Daryl Benton, Executive Vice President, Business Development. I first would like to apologize to Vice Mayor Felda Williams. We were on the transportation infrastructure call last week. Unfortunately, I think my name was called and I could not unmute myself. And I think I later found out because I did not register as a speaker. But my colleagues, Steve Douglas and Susan and Brian and John, we were all on the call. And we have been on previous calls. Of course, we had legal representation, but I do want to apologize if any of those calls we showed any sign of disrespect. And for that, I apologize. Again, I will yield some time to Susan Siebert to answer the questions. I do also concur with Councilperson Narkowski. We did receive the letter. We currently follow all city and airport policies and will continue. And former Vice Mayor Guardado, I know you are asking for the 5 points specifically. We did receive that letter. It was not on any letterhead, and therefore it was a little confusing in terms of how we were to respond and whether or not that would become city airport policy. But we, again, in no way meant to disrespect the 3 council individuals who sent the letter. I'll yield my time to Ms. Siebert regarding any other comments.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that, but I'm a little confused now. So do you, and I know that Susan's going to answer this more thoroughly, but do you agree with this language or don't agree with it?
If I may, Councilperson Guardado, may I yield to Susan for a minute? Again, what we've wanted to do as we have heard your questions over the last couple of months, we wanted to bring our company experts to this meeting. Let me ask her to respond, and then I'll follow up if you still need additional clarity. Would that be okay?
That's fine.
Thank you so much.
All right, Susan Siebert.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego and council members. Thank you for this time this afternoon. My name is Susan Siebert, and as mentioned by my colleagues, I'm the Vice President of Human Resources here at HMS Host. And I wanted to take a moment today to address a few things. First is diversity, equity, and inclusion is an integral part of our company's core values. HMS Host has been and will remain committed to providing a workplace that provides equal employment opportunity for all individuals. Our longstanding policies prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, and express disability and other protected characteristics. As you are aware, HMS Host did not hesitate to agree to incorporate proposed changes to our concession agreement in Ms. Reynolds' January 13th, 2021 email to the concession partners regarding equal employment opportunity and equal pay. And as I've mentioned just briefly, we have policies in place to ensure that we will provide these equal employment opportunities to all associates, and we have procedures for responding to complaints that allege violations of such policies. Additionally, the vast majority of our associates are covered by a collective bargaining agreement that sets the terms and conditions of their employment, including compensation. We believe the wages Unite Here and HMS Host agreed to through negotiations provide for equal pay for our associates. We agree that Concessionaire's non-discrimination policies are essential to a continued strong partnership with Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. And in closing, we agree in principle to the January 18th letter and will work with the city and the airport on the details in accordance with our CBA and city adopted policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Guardado.
Thank you. Well, Susan, thank you for that. So then you're saying that in principle, you agree with this, but then need some time to work with our staff to work it into the lease. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We next have Brian Donahoe, followed by Kurt Mangum.
Good afternoon. This is Brian Donahoe. I'm the Senior Director in Human Resources for HMS Host. And I've been on the call and will continue to be on the call, but will defer to my colleagues for any further questions from the council. Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilwoman Pastor?
What I just heard is, did I hear correctly that host agreed to our 5 points to our letter?
We certainly agree to the letter in principle, and we will continue to work with the airport and the city on the details.
I want to get clarity. When you say in principle, because what we're asking for in principle is the 1 through 5, we're asking for a commitment to implement those points in the 3-year contract extension.
At this point, I defer it back to my colleague, Daryl Benton, for provide more clarity to the council on the letter.
Okay.
Okay, then I am going to go to Kurt Mangum, followed by Joya Kaiser.
Council, Mayor, City Council. My name is Kurt Mangum, and I'm a local small business owner in Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. There was a time 8 years ago when there were very few local, small, women and minority-owned businesses represented at Phoenix Sky Harbor. Through the wisdom and commitment of the City Council, we currently have the largest number of local, small, women and minority-owned businesses ever. This did not come easy. It was due to the leadership of our City Council, the aviation staff, business partners, and arguably the best concessionaire primes in the industry. Working together, we've created a world-class programs, concepts that reflect the city of Phoenix and the state of Arizona. And we have and we've provided customer service that is second to none. This is proven by the fact that Phoenix Sky Harbor has been recognized as the best airport in the industry. As a proud, hardworking local small business partners, we come to you to ask approval for the 3-year extension so that we can restructure our debt and continue to survive during this pandemic. Additionally, I received a letter from some of our city council members regarding supporting the non-discrimination and equal pay. And I have to tell you, as a person that has experienced discrimination and unequal pay, it should go without saying that I support the city's non-discrimination and equal pay policies, as they're stated in Terminal 3 lease, the agreements that we currently have today. Thank you very much. We appreciate your leadership and continued support. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Next will be Joya, followed by Christy Kinney.
Mayor and Council, good afternoon. I am Joya Kaiser, an Acdb prime operator and joint venture partner at Sky Harbor. I come before you with gratitude for the opportunity to testify on the very direct impact your votes make on the business community of Sky Harbor. I've come before you several times to discuss how an adjustment to the rent structure directly influenced our month-to-month survival through 2020. As we enter 2021, today's vote is where we set our sights on the next several years to come. Because of the language of our lease with the City of Phoenix, our business structure is one that depends on cash flow for financing. This extension allows the opportunity for us to refinance our current debt, the debt we hold as individuals for the construction of all the stores and restaurants at Sky Harbor. By extending our contracts, you allow the banks to project longer lengths of repayment, which in turn lowers our monthly expenses, bringing our monthly debt closer to our depressed sales. Recently, I received a letter from several city council members regarding anti-discrimination expectations. I am so pleased that we are in alignment with this goal. I come from parents who throughout their lifetime have worked to shape the rights and opportunities for groups that historically suffered discrimination. My company, Casa Unlimited Enterprises, Inc., is the only ethnic-owned, second-generation, women-to-woman-led company in our industry. That is a national honor we hold, and a door that we have kept open for more ACDBEs to follow. Over 30 years ago, my mother was a pioneer in anti-discrimination and opportunity for women and ethnic-owned companies in this industry. This is a belief that we hold intrinsic to our company's identity. And at this time, my payroll reflects a 100% minority employment and ethnic and all-female management team. We have always led our company in alignment with the 5 points listed in this letter and remain committed to doing so.
Thank you. We will next go to Christy Kinney, followed by Luis Basile.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon, Mayor Gallego and City Council members. My name is Christy Kinney. I'm an ACDBE certified small business owner and vending machine operator under the master lease with SSP America at Terminal 4. A letter went out signed by some council members, which has been discussed, voicing concern about ACDBE discrimination practices at the airport. I am here to tell you that I am proof that discrimination has no place at the airport. The practice of non-discrimination is why I exist as an ACDBE certified business owner. The ACDBE family of SSP America at Sky Harbor is a close-knit one, and we make real and concrete efforts to make sure our work environments are professional and consistent. I also want to thank you for your gracious decision to allow only percentage rent rather than MAG for all of 2021. As I'm sure you know, decisions like these are being voted upon by city councils all over the nation. I'm proud that my city set a precedent for helping small and minority-owned businesses at the airport. This is why I support Agenda Item 33, asking for a 3-year extension to our lease. Without the extension, it's not going to be just 3 years of debt. It will be years of astronomical personal and business debt that will cripple all of our opportunities, not just at the airport. Agenda Item 33 holds the potential lifeline of so many small minority-owned businesses at Sky Harbor. We welcome your gracious support of a 3-year extension to our lease. Thank you for showing the nation that the City of Phoenix supports small businesses working towards something larger. The vitality of the concessions industry at Sky Harbor is at stake nationally, and other airports can't help but to heed your example. Thank you.
Mr. Basile will be followed by Lachelle Mangum.
Operator of the Wildflower. Unfortunately, my wife's mother passed away last night, and she's attending to those arrangements. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity. I want to thank everybody for the MAG relief that we've been given so far this year. Without it, I doubt that many of us would be in business at the airport. Wildflower is a locally owned company that's been operating in the Valley for 25 years. Similarly to many of the comments said here, we support the letter that we were given and the points on there. I believe that most companies support those things, particularly in the service industry. It is the mix of different ethnicities, different beliefs that make up what is a great industry called the restaurant or hospitality. We are in support of the extension of the lease for the next 3 years. And I feel like at this point, I'd be repeating myself if I listed all of the reasons for that. So thank you for your time, and we're incredibly appreciative of the ability to operate in the airport and appreciative of your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We will next go to Lachelle.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Just wanted to say thank you very much for your support thus far as we navigate our way through this pandemic. My name is Lachelle Mangum. I'm a joint venture partner of Stellar Partners. And with the impact of COVID-19, the travel industry is down dramatically, as you all know, and it's not expected to return to the 2019 numbers until possibly 2024. And yet there's still so much uncertainty in our industry. As a small business owner operating at Sky Harbor Airport, we are requesting a 3-year term extension in order to refinance our small business loans. This 3-year extension gives us an opportunity to extend our payments and pay our debt services. So with that said, I'd like to offer my support for item number 33 and hope that you will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand that there, yes.
I'm sorry, was that Lachelle?
Yes.
Lachelle, I had a question. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask, are you guys in support of the 5 points in the letter that we sent out?
I am a receipt of your letter. Thank you very much for asking. And we are in agreement with principle of the letter that was sent out on January 18th. And as a joint venture partner, as Ms. Reynolds has indicated, we go along with what our joint venture partner contractually obligation is as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, could I ask Lachelle a question, please?
Vice Mayor, please.
Lachelle, this is Stella. A 5-point letter, is that something you already have that you have in policy or in place somewhere?
I'm sorry.
With your joint venture?
As far as the non-discriminatory practice and equal pay?
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's already covered.
We have that language in our Terminal 3 contract as well. That language is in our Terminal 3 contract. So yes, it's available.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, then I have another follow-up to that.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Guardado.
Yeah, so I understand, Lachelle, that you guys have this already in Terminal 3, but I know that some of this language does not exist in Terminal 4, and I guess that was my question. Like, are you guys in agreement to this to Terminal 4? Because I don't believe that what we're asked, some of the stuff there's some version of this, but not exactly what we're asking for. And I guess that is the question. Are you guys, and I just don't understand, and I guess I'll ask Susan when we get her back on the line, but I just don't understand in principle what that means, because everyone else has said, yes, we agree to this, and we will do this.
I'm sure that Susan will be able to address it much better than I, but I know that in our handbooks and in our policies, we have the non-discriminatory practices and equal pay language that is in there. And, you know, as a company, this is something that we think is very, very important. And that for us to follow what the city's policy is on this is very important as well. So the non-discriminatory practice and equal pay is in our guidelines and our handbooks as well.
Thank you.
And it's fine. I think I actually may have, I think there were additional questions for Daryl Benton that I may have from council members. So could we unmute Daryl Benton? Okay, and then either Councilman Pastor or Guardado, I think had an additional question. So let's go ahead and do that.
So my question is to HMS host in the term in principle. What I just want to know is, are they committed to the five points?
Councilperson Pastor and Mayor and Council, this is Daryl Benton. And again, I am not hedging this letter. When it becomes city policy and the specifics of written in your policies and procedures, we will adhere to it. Obviously, you know, the 5 points in the language, you know, when we received it, I think on Monday, we simply said these questions, you know, they were, you know, some of them are very legal, some of them deals with privacy issues. Obviously, we have a collective bargaining agreement, as Ms. Subert indicated. So yes, in principle simply says these 5 points, many of them are already covered in your policies. And I think as indicated by Councilperson Guardado, that there are some additions that are in this letter that we don't really know how they translate legally into your policies, because you have concessions policies today. Obviously, they're vetted in terms of federal, state, and local laws and your own ordinances. So we're not trying to hedge. And when we say in principle, because we do in principle agree to the content of the January 18th letter. Now we just simply need to see how that reverts into policy that we would respond to.
Mayor?
Please continue, Councilwoman.
I think it was Susan who stated that there was an agreement. So I'm confused now.
An agreement, we have, I think she said we have a collective bargaining agreement with Local 11. So we have your policies, then we have a collective bargaining agreement. And that's why when we received the letter on the 18th, we simply said in principle, there's nothing in this letter that we don't disagree with. We just need to see how does that convert into city airport policy.
Okay. Daryl, is it possible that I could speak with Susan?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so could our staff please unmute Susan Siebert, but leave Mr. Benton also with an open line?
Yes, Mayor.
And just for the speakers who are online, when the councilwomen and anyone else who has questions are done, we will go to Craig Early, followed by Samantha Lewing, just trying to let them know so they can be ready.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought we were done. I'm sorry.
No, we can. I think while we got Susan and Daryl, we should.
Okay. So Susan, I just need clarity because I heard that there was agreement with the 1 through 5 points of the letter that was given to you.
Yes, Councilwoman Pastor, I said that we had agreement in principle to these 5 points.
Okay, where I have trouble is in principle. So I would like just to hear, yes, we're committed to the 5 points. And here's what I'm gonna say is and unfortunately, the small businesses are the ones caught in the middle of all this. But people are wanting an immediate benefit to refinance. But I want immediate, and I think we want an immediate confirmation that you agree to the 5 points. So I think it's the faster we agree, the faster we can move the meeting along, or if you need more time, we can always go to a continuance.
Again, Councilperson Pastor, I don't know, for legal issues that came to us in a letter on Monday to say yes or no, I simply will be consistent that there's nothing in the letter that in principle we disagree with. And once you, the city and the airport make it policy, and that's what we follow. We follow all of your adopted city and airport policies. And I just simply ask that I cannot take 5 points and say yes or no.
Okay.
Because I don't know how that's going to be converted. But there's nothing in this that concerns us in terms of, it's just make sure it does not violate our collective bargaining agreement. It does not violate any privacy issues. It does not violate, which I know when you make it policy, it will be consistent with federal, state, and local laws.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that in principle, you agree to this and you're waiting for us to make a vote on the extension and the language that would be in the vote to make it a policy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Williams.
Thank you. Actually, I want to follow up on the question Councilwoman Pastor just said with legal. Chris, as part of the motion, can we make this policy at the airport?
Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Williams, yes. If the council adopts a motion and includes the language, that would become part of the terms of the extension.
Okay, thank you.
But one thing I should clarify, as I think the point that was just being made, is that we'd have to word it in a way that was completely consistent with the agreements and law. There's not anything here that is contrary to that, but there may be some issues we would have to adjust in the language, as you always do in a lease agreement, how you phrase that. I think that's the point we've been discussing.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I have a follow-up question for Chris.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Chris, so then these points, it's just a different way of wording them, but they would do the same thing at the end of the day. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Mayor, Councilman Guardado, yes. That's, in principle, that is what the document would say. We may have to explain that or clarify it, but it would accomplish the same things, yes.
Okay, perfect. And then just one last comment, Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, please.
So I just want to, thank everyone who got on the phone and who said yes that they would commit to this. Like, once again, HMS hosts always been incredibly difficult, incredibly hard to work with, and it's very unfortunate that they have taken this stance again today. I think everyone came in, looked at the letter, committed to it. As they were speaking, it's incredibly unfortunate that HMS host continues to be this difficult to work with. I'm not surprised, but I would have just wished that, given that the city is going to give them all this, all of this money and helping them out the way they're helping them out, they're being as difficult as they are. But thank you, Vice Mayor, for that clarification, and thank you, Chris, for that as well.
Thank you. We have approximately 10 more individuals to address the council. We'll go to Craig, followed by Samantha.
This is Craig Early. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Again, my name is Craig Early. I'm with CAM Concessions. We operate 2 food service establishments in Terminal 4 under Acdb relationship with FFP. Really just 2 points to get across today based on everything that's been said. We are in alignment and supportive of the 5 points in the non-discrimination letter. And we do support the item number 33, the extension of the contract. There's been a number of people that have said it much more eloquently and succinctly than me, but it will definitely help us out in staying solvent, working with our banks on refinancing, and just continuing our operations. We really are appreciative and thankful for what you've done so far since the pandemic has started, with the early relief and then the extension through the end of last year and then this year. I don't know what we would have done without you. So once again, thank you for everything, and I yield back.
Thank you. Samantha is next, followed by Nava Singham.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, my name is Samantha Loin, and I'm a general manager for Panera Bread at Sky Harbor Airport under Kind Hospitality. I'm coming to you to support the extension for the connoisseur at Sky Harbor Airport. We work closely with HMS hosts to provide excellent dining and shopping experience at Sky Harbor. I started at Sky Harbor as a baker at Paradise, now Panera. Was promoted to general manager, and I'm going into my 10th year with the company. Also my 10th year here in Arizona. COVID-19 practically took our jobs away in March. But thanks to you guys, again, we thank you a lot for the rent reduction for us to keep our jobs. I ask that you continue to save our jobs and allow us to provide for our family by voting yes on this extension. Again, I thank you for the extension, for the reduction in the rent, and I ask that you give us this 3-year extension at Sky Harbor. Thank you very much to the mayor and the council. I yield my time.
Thank you. Nava will be next, followed by Brian Durrett.
Mayor and council members, good afternoon. My name is Nava Singham, and I am the Acdb owner of Kind Hospitality. I have been a subtenant and JV partner with HMS Host since 2005. I'm calling in today to thank you for your support for approving the request of percentage rent, as well as the grant that was issued from the dollars that the city received through the CARES Act. It is partnerships like this that supports businesses to stay afloat and provide great service at America's friendliest airport during tough times. I would also like to state that HMS Host has supported us ACDBEs throughout this pandemic, as well as they assisted in getting deferments from our banks and extended the terms of our accounts payable. Kind Hospitality provides and ensures that our work environment is non-discriminatory and that we provide equal pay for equal work amongst all of our team members. We truly thrive on a transparent work environment. I ask you to vote yes on item number 33 and support the 3-year term extensions. This will assist us in re-amortizing our loans and allow us to pay our debt back to the banks for the capital investment at Terminal 3 and Terminal 4. Finally, I'm grateful for HMS Host, the Aviation Department, the City Manager's Office, all of you on the council, and the Mayor's Office for working together to ensure that all stakeholders at the airport are protected during this pandemic. Thank you for the time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Brian will be next, followed by Don Mitchell.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Durrett. I am the controller for Kind Hospitality, a restaurant concessionaire at Sky Harbor. And I've been with the company going on 8 years now. During that time, we've had the great opportunity to operate at Sky Harbor Airport. As you know, 2020 was a very challenging year, and we continue to face challenges going into 2021. Numerous businesses in the state were forced to close permanently due to economic hardship brought on by the pandemic, which led to thousands of jobs lost. Our company is fortunate to still have its doors open today, and we are grateful to be able to continue business at Sky Harbor and to provide work to our employees. This reality would not have been possible without financial assistance from the city and the airport, and so we are grateful for the rent concessions already given. Our restaurant saw a 50% drop in sales from 2019 to 2020, and if our rent had not changed, it would have driven the company to bankruptcy and unemployment for our family of employees. I support item 33 and ask that the council grant the extension of the leases at Sky Harbor Airport to allow our business and many others time and the opportunity to recover from the financial losses incurred during this pandemic. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Don will be next, followed by Derek Bocher.
Yes, I'm Don Mitchell, and I would like to give my support to item 33 and the three-year lease extension. Well, first I'd like to say that I've been in business over 25 years as an Acdb, and without the type of action that you all are taking now, I wouldn't have been in business. You know, this isn't the first time we've had something similar to happen in 9/11. And if some of the same things that you're doing now, action you're taking now, hadn't been taken then, I would have been out of business with a lot of other minority businesses. I work directly with SSP and have every confidence in the world that they will come to the forefront for non-discrimination. As an Acdb operator, it's understood that my company agrees with 5 points. An SSP, I'm sure I have every confidence in the world that they'll do the things that's right for all of their employees, and they've exhibited that in my relationship with them. So hopefully we can get this passed. Without it, it'll be almost impossible for minority business to survive. Thank you very much.
Derek will be followed by Samantha Hernandez.
Good evening, distinguished mayor and council. Thank you for your continued support. My name is Derek Betcher. I'm part of the team at Kind Hospitality. First off, I wanted to say thank you for your gracious relief from percentage rents this year. If it wasn't for this relief, we would be in dire shape as a company. Kind Hospitality is a small company, and being impacted nearly 10% of the lost revenues is being felt by everyone. We are humbled and blessed to be a part of this success, and it would greatly help us offset the current climate that we're in with no time frame of coming out of it. Again, thank you for your consideration, and we humbly ask that this extension be considered. Thank you.
Samantha is next, followed by Bruce Mosby.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Samantha, and I'm here today to support the lease extension for Terminal 3 and Terminal 4. I've been working for Kind Hospitality for about 7 years. I started as a maintenance person, then got promoted to cashier assistant. Then I'm currently the general manager at Terminal 3. I'm very thankful for the reduction relief for my company. This has helped many employees to have employment during these hard times. Once again, I'm here to support for the lease extension. And I thank you, the mayor and council, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mosby.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members.
My name is Bruce Mosby of Mosby and Company, Inc., small business owner and operator of Pete's Coffee in Sky Harbor Airport and an ACDBE subtenant partner of SSP America. I, like all of the others, am in complete support of a 3-year lease extension for all concessions at the airport. For as such, this extension, combined with rent relief council previously approved, are 2 essential measures that will give us the best chance of surviving through this pandemic. And as you're hearing from everyone else, I'm absolutely committed to the non-discrimination policy that Council Members Pastor, Garcia, Guardado wrote about in their recent letter to the ACDBs at the airport. After all, the core of the ACDBE program is about minority participation and giving disadvantaged businesses a level playing field. So as a person of color who has experienced discrimination over the course of my career, I have always, I do now, and I will continue to operate my business and to work with my team members upholding our non-discrimination policies. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Vice Mayor, do we have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor, we do. But first, I would like to direct Chris to rewrite the list of 5 into legal language that can be incorporated into the airport policy. I will tell you, we have worked on this a long time, and I have heard from many of the DBEs the terrible times they're having and the danger they are in losing their business and all the efforts they have put into it. We are recognized, or were recognized, as the best in the nation, and it's due to all the employees and all their efforts, as well as the business owners. I just cannot knowingly and willingly fail to act on this. I just feel very strongly that if we don't do this, we will damage not only the airport, the city, but the state. Sky Harbor is well known around the world as an outstanding operation, whether it's on the airfield or in the terminals. And I've always been very, very proud of it. So I am going to make this motion to, 1, adopt Chris's new language and incorporate it into the airport policy, and 2, to extend the airport leases by 3 years, 3 additional years.
Mayor, I will second that, but I have a quick question. Does that include both terminals?
It does. I'm saying Sky Harbor, so I mean both terminals
Okay.
and everyone that's been on this. And you second it?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from Vice Mayor Williams and a second from Councilwoman Stark.
Mayor, I just have a quick clarification on this.
Councilwoman Guardado.
Vice Mayor, so when you say to adopt the language, you mean the 5 points, the letter that we sent out, correct?
Yes, the list of 5. I haven't read that list, so I can't state them, but I'm sure Chris has a copy of it.
He does.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So Mayor, this is Councilman Nowakowski.
Go ahead, Councilman Nowakowski.
So Chris, can you go over the 5 points and tell us what the difference is between the contract that's there now and what's being proposed? And if it's legal for us to do that too.
Mayor, council members, Councilman Nowakowski, I will do my best. Yes, we believe that the points in the letter are legal, that it is okay for us to ask these things. Several of them, as been mentioned during discussion, are actually currently required either in the contracts or are incorporated into the contracts because the contracts incorporate city code, and some of these changes have already been made since the contracts were entered to the city code. So therefore, they become part of the contracts. The first point is the standard non-discrimination language that we have in our code and is in the existing policies. There may be one difference between the Terminal 3 and 4 contracts, but those are minor, and again, they are incorporated by subsequent amendments to the city code into both. The requirements for equal pay come straight from a provision in the Terminal 3 leases, having to do with equal employment opportunity requirements and equal pay. Again, those are currently either already required, and we are reinforcing those in the proposed lease extension or contract extension. Number 3 in the letter is clarifying that not complying with the discrimination provisions or non-compliance with the discrimination provisions is considered a material breach. That is implied in the contract. This would put it clearly stated in the contract extensions, and that the city would have a right to pursue breach of contract and termination of the agreements if there were violations following the notification and curing periods that are provided for in the existing agreements. Number 4 is a requirement that the ACDBEs and primes submit a plan outlining their training procedures and their policies in the workplace and other alternatives that they have to try to prevent discrimination. So what are they doing to enforce the non-discrimination policies, and what training are they providing, and asking them to provide that to the city and their plan. The 5th one is a requirement that they report information on an annual basis to the city, information and data that demonstrates their compliance with the equal pay commitment and non-discrimination requirements. This is one where I think some of the questions and discussion was probably centered, because this provision is general and there needs to be some clarity on what we can provide. One suggestion that I would have that would clear up all of these points, if the council would want to include this in the motion, is that all of this is subject to local, state, and federal law and consistent with privacy interests and any collective bargaining agreements. Those are always implied in any agreement anyway, but part of our point here is to put this in writing and make it clear. So if we added that, that should clear up the issues and provide the guidance that we need to actually draft the provisions in the contract. And these would be very close, if not exactly what would go in the contract with that change.
Mayor, I'm sure I said that. He just didn't hear me.
So your motion is in compliance. Yes, I think that's a very good motion. Thank you for making the motion to comply with state, federal, and local law.
I will second that.
Here,
And
I'd like to continue.
Councilman Nowakowski.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for that clarification. I just worked so hard on myself and Councilmember Johnson to make sure that we had small businesses, minority businesses that represent the city of Phoenix, and small businesses that we here in Phoenix enjoy at the airport. So it was a big milestone to actually have not franchise companies in their restaurants, but actually local restaurants. So to see something like that happen, I was just very concerned. And for my colleagues, next time you send out a letter, just copy us on it, so we don't have to go through all this drill again. I believe that all these points are following the City of Phoenix ordinances, and actually the ordinances that we have at Terminal 3 and some at Terminal 4. So thank you so much, and I'll be supporting this. And thank you, Chris, for clarifying everything.
Thank you, Councilman. Roll call.
DeCiccio,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Nowakowski,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
yes.
Waring,
No.
Williams,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 7-2.
Yes. Thank you all.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you all. Thank you to everyone who testified and who was part of moving this forward. We next move to planning and zoning matters with item 50, which is a general plan amendment for the southeast corner of 19th Avenue and Alameda Road. We'll begin with a staff report from our Planning and Development Director, Alan Stevenson.
Thank you, mayors, members of council. Item 50 and item 51 can be heard together. They're related general plan amendment and zoning case, and then separate motions for each of those. They are located up in Council District 1 at the southeast corner of 19th Avenue and Alameda Road. It is for approximately 321 acres. You see the area outlined here in yellow on the screen before you. Item 50 is a general plan amendment. The current general plan designation is Commerce Park, Business Park, and Industrial, as you see on the screen here. The proposal is to make that a mixed-use crosshatch of Commerce Park, Business Park / Industrial across the entire 321 acres. The Deer Valley Village Planning Committee did recommend approval 7-0, the Planning Commission 9-0. Staff does recommend approval per the Planning Commission recommendation, adoption of the related resolution. The corresponding zoning case is a proposed planned unit development zoning case to go from S1 and S1 special permit within the Deer Valley Airport Overlay District, which is the DVAO acronym you see on the screen here for the subject area in yellow. Proposed uses is a mix of industrial and Commerce Park districts from the A1, A2, and Commerce Park district. Important to note that staff is proposing Commerce Park standards in terms of landscaping and design so that it looks a little bit nicer, but we are allowing a little more broad range of uses within this particular area. The zoning case was also approved 7-0 by the village and 9-0 by the Planning Commission. Staff does recommend approval per the Planning Commission recommendation, adoption of the related ordinance. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, and thank you to you and Deputy Director Bednarik for all of your hard work on this and making sure we have the ability to bring high-wage jobs to our community and really further the great employment hub in District 1. Any questions for the Planning Director before I open the public hearing? All right, we will open a public hearing for both items 50 and 51. We have Caroline Oberholzer available only if necessary if any council members have any questions. Do any council members have questions? I will close the public hearing. We will move first to item 50 and then we will hear a motion on 51. Vice Mayor.
Mayor, I move to approve per the Planning Commission's approval and adopt the related ordinance, the resolution.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Wonderful. Good news for our city. Item 51, Vice Mayor. The Vice Mayor, do you have a motion on item 51?
Yes, to approve per the Planning Commission's approval and adopt the related ordinance.
Second.
Any council member comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Guardado.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
Wonderful. Two great new votes for job seekers in Phoenix. We next move to item 52, which is a general planned amendment at the southeast corner of 7th Street and Happy Valley Road. And item 53, which is the related case. We'll begin with Alan Stevenson for a staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. These two are companion cases for 108 acres located approximately 1,320 feet south of the southeast corner of 7th Street and Happy Valley Road. Item 52 is a general plan amendment, and item 53 is the related zoning case. The area is outlined here in yellow on the aerial that you see. In this case, this is the existing general plan designation, which is Commerce Park Business Park and a small portion of floodplain. Staff is proposing mixed-use industrial / commerce business park for this 108 acres also. The Deer Valley Village Planning Committee voted to recommend approval 7-0. The Planning Commission voted to approve it 9-0. Staff does recommend approval. Per the Planning Commission recommendation, adoption of the related resolution. This is a related zoning case, same parcel that we just mentioned. In this case, it's also within the Deer Valley Airport overlay area. The approved zoning with this is Commerce Park, General Commerce Park, PCD, from S1. Staff is proposing to change that to a PUD for a mix of Commerce Park and industrial uses, again with Commerce Park development standards, but allowing a broader range of Commerce Park, A1 industrial, and A2 industrial uses as part of the proposal. Was approved by the Village Planning Committee 7-0, Planning Commission 9-0. Staff does recommend approval per the Planning Commission recommendation, adoption of the related ordinance. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, not seeing any questions. I will open the public hearing on both items 52 and 53. The only registered speaker we have again is Carolyn. Do any members of the council have questions? She's available to speak if necessary. I will close the public hearing. And Vice Mayor, do we have a motion first on item 52?
Motion to approve for the Planning Commission's approval and adopt the related resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Nowakowski,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 9-0.
We next move to item 53, Vice Mayor.
Motion to approve per the Planning Commission's approval and adopt the related ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any council member comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio, DeCiccio, Garcia,
Yes.
Guardado,
Yes.
Nowakowski,
Yes.
Pastor,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Gallego.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
We next move to item 54, which is appeal of a hearing officer decision in the abandonment of the right-of-way of Arcadia Lane at the south side of Camelback Road. We will begin with a staff report from Alan Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This request is an appeal of the abandonment hearing officer's decision to deny a request to abandon a small northern portion of Arcadia Lane, shown in this yellow area on the exhibit here. It also includes some portion of Camelback Road that's part of it as well that you can see in the yellow area. The abandonment hearing officer did recommend denial because it would result in an overlength dead-end street and accessed only from Jokaki Road, and some other reasons we'll go through here in just a few minutes. In this particular instance, here's a blow-up of the proposed abandonment area here in yellow. The hearing officer decision was denial. In this case, for the abandonment hearing officer to make an approval to abandon the right-of-way, there has to be determination that the roadway is no longer necessary for public purposes. In this case, the hearing officer did not believe that it met this criteria. The request, if approved, would result in a de facto private street for 17 lots, but maintained by taxpayers for all those lots that are on the Arcadia Lane that would still be functioning as a private street, but it would be abandoned only that small, slim portion at the end. It would also increase traffic on Jokaki Road and east end of Arcadia Lane for traffic coming in and out of there in the future if it was approved. The applicant's arguments were related to issues of crime and cut-through traffic. However, they did not provide any data supporting that as part of their presentation. The Street Transportation Department did offer to sit down with them and do a study to try and collect data and also work with them on any other suitable traffic mitigation measures. However, they declined to continue on in that effort. The request was also not supported by the Street Transportation Department due to the reduction in neighborhood connectivity, which is contrary to adopted plans and policies. With that, the request here would be to support the abandonment hearing officer's denial of the request to abandon. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you. So Alan, I first thought this was to abandon the entire street. I have a neighborhood up in the northern part of my district where they did abandon a local street, but they bought it and it's now private and they maintained it. And they too wanted to gate their community, which they did. But the caveat is if there's ever accidents and they need to route traffic through the neighborhood, the police can open up the gate and route traffic through. Why did they not want to take ownership of Arcadia Lane?
Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, I guess I would say that you're going to hear from the applicant in just a minute on their rationale for it, but my understanding is that they did not have support for all of the property owners that abut Arcadia Lane to form an HOA and take over maintenance responsibilities of it. They were fine with it being closed so long as the public would be maintaining the rest of Arcadia Lane via the Street Transportation Department, but my understanding was they did not want to take on that overall responsibility, and that's why they filed it in the manner they did. But I would ask that you ask that question of the applicant here.
Okay. I'll be happy to. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. A great question. All right. I will go ahead and open the public hearing. We'll begin with Rodney Jarvis, followed by Kathy Kirsch. Each speaker will have 2 minutes.
Have a little more than 2 minutes. In any event, let me start by addressing the question that Councilwoman Stark posed, which is why not abandon all of Arcadia Lane? Alan is correct that we don't have anywhere near sufficient support from neighbors along that street to do so. The idea never was to gate off the road. Understand that once a road is gated, and I live in a gated community, that invites all kinds of new practical problems. When is the gate open? When is it not? How do friends come and visit? The idea that creating a cul-de-sac creates a de facto private street, I have to take real issue with that. There are quite a number of cul-de-sacs in the Arcadia neighborhood, many of which come off of Camelback Road on the north and on the south, and they are not private streets. They're public streets. They're maintained by the public. They're developed to public standards. Cul-de-sac does not equal private street. In addition, of course, not only are there all kinds of practical problems with the gate, but there's there's expense. And I think the neighbors would justifiably ask the question, now wait a minute, just because we cul-de-sac at one end to enhance safety on the road, why does that then mean that we have to pay for maintenance of the road? We pay taxes too. Why can't it continue to be maintained by the public? And I think all of those enter into the reasons why my clients are not enthusiastic at all about privatizing the entire road. It is ironic that staff on one side of their mouth says, we got to have this for connectivity, and on the other side they say, but if you privatize it, it's okay with us. That would seem to indicate that the main issue is saving money and not somehow preserving connectivity. Doesn't really seem to be the priority. Madam Mayor, I'm not sure when my audio clicked in, but since I'm representing applicant, I'm hopeful I can have more than 2 minutes. I heard the indicator go off, but I'm not just an interested neighbor. I'm representing the client, and typically I get about 10 minutes for that, although I'm not sure I need the whole 10 minutes. Is it all right if I continue?
We do have, I think, 7 speakers, so we're just going to go ahead with 2 minutes. I'm trying to be consistent and not allow donation of time.
All right. Okay. That's fine. The next speaker, I believe, is Kathy Kirsch.
Yes, I was thinking Kathy, followed by Randy, followed by Tristan, but if you had a different order, that is fine. All right, Kathy Kirsch, followed by Randy Kirsch. 2 minutes each.
We did meet with city staff as requested by a hearing officer. It became clear to us that staff was not going to support our request and has a different view of what is appropriate for our neighborhood street. Staff says some cut-through connectivity traffic is good, and the most they would offer after a traffic study was speed humps. We do not agree with their opinion, as our street is not designed for cut-through. It is curved, has no sidewalks, and no streetlights. Speed humps are noisy and disruptive and encourage quick braking and quick resumptions of speed. They do nothing to prevent crime. Staff does not seem to believe the commonly known fact that would-be burglars prefer through streets with 2 escape routes. But the city's crime numbers bear us out, and we have submitted them to you. We did not wish to add only speed humps, so the cost and delay of studies made no sense to do. By the way, staff isn't concerned about connectivity because, as Rod said, they are willing to support the closure if we privatize the street. The difference is that staff's option allows them to save money on future street maintenance. There are a tremendous amount of public cul-de-sacs in this neighborhood. They are all public. Staff does not consider them to be de facto private. Privatizing the streets not supported by a majority of our neighbors, as it saddles us with undue expense and burden. The cul-de-sac will prevent ingress-egress on Camelback, it is true, but that is more than made up for by the reduction of cut-through traffic and the reduction of vulnerability to crime. Moreover, most of our vehicles go out to Jokaki to access Camelback safely or proceed south, so closure will not add additional burden. This improvement will not cost the city any money to put in and will result in the same cost to the city going forward than if we make no change to the street. Additionally, it adds a fire hydrant where one is needed. Staff has said that fire can work with the hydrant that is 125 feet north of us across Camelback Road. We don't think that that is correct. We think it's short-sighted, since this is a chance for the city to make an improvement without having to pay a penny for it. And Deputy Fire Marshal Brian Scholl was at our intersection and told us he felt a water line and hydrant would be extremely beneficial, and he thought the city should pay for it. But I don't believe that's in the city's budget, and I think that staff is setting the city up for an accident if you pass on this free improvement.
Randy will be followed by Tristan.
Hi, our neighborhood was designed in 1950 to accommodate 17 homes in a residential setting. Since then, traffic has increased on Camelback Road and will continue to increase. We found that traffic is so impatient, it does not wait for a streetlight to change at Jokaki. And when they see that streetlight, they cut through our street quickly. They're just avoiding the weight of the light, and they skip 8 homes worth of houses, and they did take this shortcut down our winding Arcadia Lane. This is dangerous to the many children and residents that live, walk, or bike here. Arcadia Lane is not wide, it has no streetlights, and it doesn't even have sidewalks. And it has a large bend in the road that makes it a blind corner. Arcadia Lane was never designated or envisioned to be used as a collector street. It's a light residential street. Stopping the cut-through access will correctly keep the traffic flowing down Jokaki, which was designed to handle this traffic as a collector. You see, Jokaki is signalized. It is wide, open, and straight. It has traffic calming measures already in place. And it traverses the long distance going north and south through Arcadia. It's an excellent cut through. And if we cut off Arcadia Lane, people will use that street how it's supposed to be. It's also very, very loud, and it's getting louder in front of our houses. Sometimes we can't hear each other speak. If it's closed, it will return this to a quiet residential neighborhood street. In conclusion, cutting off the access with a wall and a cul-de-sac will solve both the dangerous, speedy cut-through traffic as well as reduce the noise. The neighbors are willing to pay for such closures, so the problem is solved for all parties at no cost to the city. We don't want to privatize it because we want the street open to everybody to enjoy. It's a beautiful street. We even offered to pay for a fire hydrant, as Kathy mentioned, at great personal cost, since the city has not done so to ensure our safety. We have 17 very expensive houses. There's not one fire hydrant on our entire street. So please help our neighbors by approving the cul-de-sac to make our street more safe and more neighborhoody. Thank you.
Thank you. Tristan will be followed by James Bell.
Thank you. Tristan Schaub, the president of the Arcadia Camelback Mountain Neighborhood Association. City leadership, ACM&A is fine with this request. Within Arcadia, the situation they're proposing is not uncommon. We find there are many, what I'll call cul-de-sac or dead-end roads that go north and don't connect to Camelback. It provides some quietness, a little bit of separation from what's a pretty busy street. The street, to the question that was asked, and that's a great question, it's not needed to relieve Camelback congestion. If you looked at Mr. Stevenson's graphic, that street right next door to it, 59th in Mariposa, that does the same job. So this will not impact the need to avoid that intersection if there is an accident. So I want you to feel comfortable with that point of the traffic relief. I believe that there are benefits to the neighbors from a safety and a theft perspective. And I think that there's a benefit to the city in that they're going to put a nice fire hydrant there and pay for it. The last thing really is regarding ACM&A's mission, which is to maintain a residential character free from commercial intrusion. Our organization believes that this separation that they're proposing from a major collector street and shielding it from the commercial aspects northbound at the Phoenician makes it a quieter, safer, and frees it from that commercial activity. So it's in keeping with ACM&A's mission. Thank you. I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Mr. Bell will be followed by Dr. Patty Flint.
Hi, am I able to be heard?
Loudly and clearly.
Thank you. Thank you, council people, for your service to our state. Appreciate it. I echo the comments of my neighbors. My and my wife's house is perhaps the most affected by this, as we are the home directly butting up against Camelback Road. I specifically wanted to comment on two important areas. One is extremely important and even difficult to talk about. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, on the subject of crime, I woke up in the middle of the night to multiple individuals in my secured and gated backyard. And I legitimately can say for a moment I feared for my life, and it was very difficult to stomach that. That incident number is 200-0208-5629. The suspects were arrested down the street from us. The shape of our street, I find it hard to believe that they walked all the way down Arcadia Lane to the north and stopped at my house, which would have been the last house. Rather, I believe they entered through the exact wall and opening that we are hoping to seal off. Additionally, and of note, I've only lived here for 6 months and I've already had this happen once. I don't want it to happen again. Secondarily, we have a drive-through driveway, horseshoe shaped. We often have people turn off a Camelback and I believe illegally use our private driveway as a city roundabout to make U-turns. And again, that's I believe, a crime that would be stopped or mitigated if there was a cul-de-sac there. Lastly, on cost, we agree to bear all of the costs. The city would not bear any additional costs. We would incur all the costs of everything related to this in our power. Lastly, there's a suicide lane for left turns out of Arcadia Lane onto Camelback. And I believe that forcing residents to use the lighted intersection at Joe Cocky could potentially save a life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Patty Flint will be our last speaker.
Hello, this is Patty Flint. I've been a resident of Arcadia for 25 years. I reside on Arcadia Lane. And I think I'll try very hard to avoid being duplicitous because all salient points have been made. But I think in closing, it's hard for me to imagine why the city would not want to improve safety on 3 levels, being traffic, crime, and fire, when it's going to be paid for solely by homeowners, when it comes at no cost to a thoroughfare as far as traffic flow. I really don't see how we can make a case for not having this approved when it's all homeowners, 17 out of 17 in agreement to improve safety of an area that was supposed to be a neighborhood, not a traffic thoroughfare. And I appreciate the council and the mayor hearing this issue and the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public testimony. We'll close the public hearing. And do we have Councilman DeCiccio?
I'm here, Mayor.
Okay.
I'd like to make a
item is-
motion to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor. I'm sorry, I interrupted. I'm sorry, that was my bad. I'd like to make a motion to approve the abandonment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will turn to council members for questions. Councilwoman Stark.
Thank you. I'm glad that Keeney has joined you. My first question has to do with this cul-de-sac. Isn't that going to create an overlinked cul-de-sac? And memory serves me that fire trucks don't enjoy going down overlinked cul-de-sacs. So could you answer that first?
Sure, Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, the city ordinance standard is 400 feet for a cul-de-sac so that emergency vehicles can see that there's a cul-de-sac down there and they don't make a wrong turn and head down a street that then impedes them responding to an emergency. And so that's the standard that it's applied in new subdivisions as they may be built around the city. In this particular case, there would be about a 2,000-foot dog-leg cul-de-sac that would be left of Arcadia Lane if it was approved.
And then secondly, you're probably more familiar with Arcadia than I. Are the other cul-de-sac streets, are they overlinked? Are there some overlinked? And maybe Keeney needs to answer that rather than you, and you may not know offhand, but I'm just curious.
Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, and members of the council, that's correct. Because of the number of different developments that have happened over the years, and I would say even decades in the Arcadia area and around the city, our standards have evolved over the years, and so there are probably cul-de-sacs that exist, not just in Arcadia but around the city, who they do not meet current standards, but they would be grandfathered in because they were originally designed to the standards we had as a city for those cul-de-sacs or for those developments. And when we're talking about Arcadia Lane, this was not designed to be a cul-de-sac, and so we would be talking about using today's standards to be able to look at how that would apply to this if that were the direction here to do a cul-de-sac on this, which it could not be made consistent or in compliance with our standards today.
And so one last question, and that actually has to do with, maybe you could put the map back up, Alan, at the point where the cul-de-sac would be built. I'm guessing the radius design probably can't happen within the existing right-of-way. So would we have some dedications made so that we could have the correct radius for a cul-de-sac? I was having a hard time reading the width of the road.
Mayor, members of council, we would, if this would approve, we would want to have stipulations that would require the applicant to construct a cul-de-sac that, you know, is a normal turnaround for Arcadia Lane, which is 50 feet with a 45-foot radius to have traffic turn around. That would require additional dedication of some of the private properties at 4430 and 4431, as there's not enough right-of-way room today.
And are they willing to do that?
Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, it's my understanding that they do not wish to dedicate all of that right-of-way and would try and pursue relief to provide a narrow, smaller turnaround area.
Yeah, it's a long cul-de-sac.
Mayor and Council, and if I could add, I think one of the things that Mr. Jarvis, mentioned is that staff would be, supportive of the complete abandonment of it being Arcadia Lane, not just a small portion. I think what what staff's position really is we're not supportive of abandonments for these types of streets, but if it's going to be abandoned, it needs to be done in a fashion that isn't making the taxpayers pay for the Arcadia Lane maintenance when it's only benefiting those 17 homes. So there's a slight distinction there, in that.
Okay. Yeah, that concerns me greatly. I don't think I can support it at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Mayor?
Agree with you. Go ahead, Councilman DeCiccio.
Just, I'd like to ask Rod these questions too, because I'd like to see what his solutions are to that. I mean, I think they were good questions, and I'd like to see what his solutions are to that. If you could, Rod, if you don't mind answering that.
I would be delighted to. Thank you, Councilman and Madam Mayor. With regard to the overlaying cul-de-sac question, understand that the existing situation of fire safety is very substandard. And what's going to happen as a result of this cul-de-sac is that the fire safety situation will be greatly improved. What do I mean by that? The existing situation is that the fire hydrant is on the north side of Camelback Road, which means the fire department has to spend time stopping traffic. Imagine that in peak hour, if that were to occur, stopping traffic before they can lay their hoses and go down the road. Whereas the neighbors have offered, if they can get this cul-de-sac done, they will pay for a new fire hydrant on Arcadia Lane. So if we're talking about improving the fire safety situation, even though this is an overlong cul-de-sac, it will be much better. Now, as to the size of the bulb, if we were not able to get a slight reduction in cul-de-sac bulb size, then we will comply with the rule. Because the major concern here is getting the cul-de-sac put in. We are, candidly, going to ask for a reduction of that in conformance with what happened on Arcadia Drive. You got 3 cul-de-sacs. They're all of a slightly smaller size, even though they were built after that standard was put in place. We think the history with those since the mid-90s shows that has been more than adequate, and we would like to pursue a slightly smaller cul-de-sac bulb. But again, the primary issue for us is getting the cul-de-sac approved. And right now we have an unsafe condition for fire safety, which we are going to greatly improve by putting in a fire hydrant. I want to talk real quickly, if I can, also about precedent, because I understand that this is one of the major concerns that staff has had, precedent. And in this case, I think the precedent that we're establishing is no concern going forward. And the reason why is the unique configuration of this road, the unique situation that it finds itself in. It will create almost no more traffic for Jockockie Road to cul-de-sac Arcadia Lane than currently goes on Jockockie Road for a couple of reasons. First of all traffic that is going south or south and east or south and west goes down Arcadia Lane and goes on Jockockie Road already. Furthermore, any traffic coming out of Arcadia Lane trying to turn left, especially at peak hour, is going to tend to go on Jockockie Road because there's a street light there and it's a lot safer. The same applies to traffic trying to turn left off of Camelback Road into Arcadia Lane anywhere near peak hour. Same thing, unsafe, difficult to do, turn down Jockockie Road. So there's already the bulk of the traffic off Arcadia Lane going on Jockockie Road, which would answer why we don't have any objection from any homeowners on Jockockie Road, and Arcadia Camelback Mountain Neighborhood Association supports this case. So where you've got a situation where you're not creating any more traffic for anybody else to any appreciable level, that is a distinguishing factor for this concern about precedent. Moreover, we have a situation where we have a curvilinear road that creates a safety problem for people walking along this road with no sidewalks. That's an additional impetus to try to create a little bit more safety. And finally, there's a tremendous amount of data. The staff said we had no data. We submitted a great deal of data that shows that we will reduce vulnerability to crime, most specifically to burglary, if we can cul-de-sac the road. The statistics are very clear. Out of all of the crimes committed in the Arcadia neighborhood, for the past 3 years, only 1.8% have been on cul-de-sacs. And that's because of the well-understood and known rule that burglars want to have more than one escape route. So we think we're increasing safety tremendously for fire as well as for traffic cut through as well as for vulnerability to crime. We're hopeful that you all will consider that carefully and approve this request.
Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted a clarification to what Mr. Jarvis was talking about. The data that he provided was actually with the appeal packet for this case and not with the original request for the abandonment.
Thank you. All right. I am going to be voting against the motion, but understand that there are improvements we can be made in traffic safety. And I did speak with our streets director that if this should not go forward, we would be willing to work with the neighborhood to find other solutions, which I know is not their preferred option. Roll call.
DeCiccio. DeCiccio. Garcia.
No.
Guardado.
No.
Nowakowski.
No.
Pastor.
No.
Stark.
Mayor, I'm going to vote no, but I suggest the first thing we do is look into getting a fire hydrant on the south side of Camelback. That is very problematic, and I think hopefully we, the city, can find a way to find a solution. Thank you, no.
Waring.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes, I will support the council.
Welcome to WebEx. Press 1 to be connected to your meeting.
To continue to work with city staff to make improvements, including a fire hydrant.
There we go. Well, that was weird. Mayor, I missed quite a bit of this. I got hung up on or something and then tried to get back on and couldn't get back on. Could someone let me know where we're at?
Roll call.
Oh, okay. Good enough then.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Gallego.
No.
Motion fails 3-6.
Thank you, and we do look forward to trying to find solutions with the neighborhood. That is our final agendized item for today's council meeting. We do have one member of the public to address the council. Will our city attorney please introduce public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. real quick, Mayor, just really quick. I got hung up on and I could not get back to the system. I'm just kind of curious what happened there.
If IT staff could meet with Councilman DeCiccio and try to find a solution, we would certainly welcome you to participate on WebEx, which I think has proven to be a better technical solution than calling in.
Well, not really. Look at Jim Waring. He can't get through either.
Councilman
too.
Waring also calls in.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, I don't normally have that kind of problem. They just total hung up on me. So I want to know from Ed exactly what occurred here, Ed. I missed a big part of the debate.
Councilman DeCiccio, just to clarify, are you asking what happened on the item or what happened with your connection?
No, my connection. I couldn't get back in either. The system wouldn't let me back in.
I'm not sure, Councilman.
It's really weird.
Yeah, the IT staff is researching it right now, Councilman.
Yeah, I want to know exactly what occurred there. This is twice as has happened now. Really need to know. But thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Mayor, members of the council. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the city council for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the city council to listen to the comments, but prohibits council members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes. That will be our final speaker today.
Okay. Thank you, council and mayor and city managers. Pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 22 of our city charter, the city clerk has placed on file a citizen's petition. I'm not sure if you have. I'm not sure if you have access to that.
Mayor, this is the city clerk. We do have the petition that was submitted by Mr. Williams.
One moment. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so anyhow, the purpose of this petition is to motion the council to discuss the questions on whether the questions in the following slides are in the slides related to whether it is improper, unethical, and or even potentially illegal for a future mayor or council member to use their official city position to influence city elections. Also, for the council to vote on prohibiting the mayor and or council members from endorsing and or supporting candidates in any way who seek office within the same body.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. That concludes today's council meeting. We are adjourned.